What are you doing?
You almost just made me spill my drink, you ass.
Dude, what are you doing? Bruh.
that hurt.
Oh, man.
What
Well,
was the
with
problem?
that rude interruption from our guest.
Not guest, co-host. F off.
Oh, I got the two confused. I didn't
No,
know.
not confused. You can't confuse those two things. Go away.
Why not? Can I?
Because you're not allowed to.
Oh, that's
No, not all.
that's quite lame, is it not?
It actually is not.
All right. So today we are going to be not drinking tea or whatever the hell this guy's doing. Today we are going to review.
All right, gentlemen, floor is all yours.
A debate on modern day debate, because debate reviews are cool. And the topic on this one is the left more violent than the right? It's obviously a timely topic. And what we're going to do is we're going to give a logical analysis purely on guidelines of debate, but also, logical adherence to logic. And we have our own biases, as everyone knows. So we're going to try to be as fair as possible.
What is even fair? Who does that?
Well, one of these debaters doesn't do that.
Well,
we
he's not. He can't comprehend what is fair. So
I'm gonna warn you guys that the guy who argued that the right is more violent had a really, really bad case, and that's not the bias talking either. It was terrible. He lost.
Yeah,
pretty
from
early
both
on.
a debate from a logical perspective, from a debate as a sport perspective,
all of it, dude. He lost terribly.
Sucking perspective, his rhetoric, all of it. He just failed.
So we're gonna start at the open dialogue because the opening statements aren't really worthwhile. They're not noteworthy. So before I do that,
somewhat important, but we're gonna stop it every 3 seconds.
No, we don't really need those opening statements. Now, before we do that, I'm gonna go grab a water bottle so I too can do goofy antics. Give me 1 second, chat. First, I need to scrap this water bottle that I already used. I need to grab a new one. All right. We've returned with the water bottle.
But you're not limited to the water bottle.
What happened?
But you're not limited to
Oh, no, I'm not limited to the water bottle. No, I'm not.
Not loud enough.
Dude, I could do the disgusting slurping of the water bottle.
Wait, I thought that was just what you were supposed to do on live streams. What do you mean?
Ugh, jeez, dude. Disgusting. Don't even do that. Don't do it.
Don't do what?
The weird water bottle slurping nonsense. See, you can do that because you probably have a straw or something, but when you're doing it on a water bottle,
I have a cup.
You have a cup? You're nasty, bro. You're nasty. Oh my god. You're a disgrace. You ought to be ashamed.
No, I ought not to be.
Islam God Answer says, quote, Mans is prepping to do the bend noise. Okay, so
Oh, okay.
I was
pal,
gonna
we
I
aren't
was
doing
gonna say that. I
that.
was gonna say that because there's a custom that we colloquially call the bed noise around here, where you take a glass of water, you slurp it, you like slam it down on the table, and then you burp into your microphone. That's what the bed noise is.
I actually didn't know that that's what they were calling it, but
That's what it's called. Zone Answer says, "quote I don't like your definition that I agreed to." Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up. Don't worry.
but I love the definition that I agreed to.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let me just swing over there and make sure.
Sorry, yes. First of all, I'd like to make sure that we can agree on a definition of what political violence actually is, because I think that maybe we have contrary definitions here. Brenton, can we agree that political violence is the use of force, coercion, intimidation, or damage to property by individuals or groups to influence political outcomes or punish opponents?
I'm okay with doing that. However, I think that there are levels of political violence, and the more serious should be weighted much more heavily than the less serious.
Yep. So
Also,
you
hold
said
on,
that
hold on. Can we stop this for a second?
Yeah.
He thought he was really slick by saying, however, we need to weigh the murders specifically as more impactful than any other form of violence. Notice how he's trying to be slick with that while conceding an entire definition to his opponent.
Yeah, and that's gonna matter because later on he's gonna start insisting that murders are the.
Hold on. Before we get into this, if depending on the topic and how much you know about the topic, do not ever concede a definition.
Yeah.
Do not do that. Your opponent gave them or used a definition that was convenient for them, so that way they can trap you with it. I'm never just going to hand you a definition that isn't going to serve to your detriment.
Now the problem is, like, in this circumstance, what definition would even be better than this?
Well, see, he kind of lost.
There are
with his case.
That would be
he
more
struggled
for him.
Right, but in this topic, the way he went about going after it, he was going to struggle, right? Because he built his whole case around about half of the debate topic. That's why you have to read the wording of debate topics very, very closely. If I say political violence, there's a large distinction between political violence, political deaths, and political murders.
Yep. It's very important.
So his argument isn't even completely topical.
Or the study that you were citing there was over the past 30 years?
Over the past 30 years, yeah.
So it doesn't take into account the LA riots in the 90s? It doesn't take into account the LA riots in the 90s?
No, it starts at 1990. So it does take into account the LA
35
riots.
years.
So what I have here is it's not... Okay, so there were three studies.
This is way later going to be relevant.
Yeah.
He says definitively here, because this started from the 1990s, it includes the LA riots.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's going to pretend like he didn't say that later.
He's going to pretend he didn't say that. See, sometimes this is another thing that you'll see with this guy is that he talks too much. One, talking a lot can show that you know a lot about a topic, but in a lot of cases, especially in this guy's case, it shows that you're insecure on the topic and you have to try and take control of the situation by talking a lot. It's a sign that you're not as intelligent on the topic or just about debate in general. There's a whole bunch of stuff about how you want to speak, but in a general sense, you'll be seen better by people that are watching debates if you are able to lay short, concise messages across rather than constantly feeling the need to talk and feeling the need to fill the area with you.
I focused mainly on one was Cato Institute, which was 1975 to 2025.
I thought you said the modern day left.
Yeah, the other one was 1990 to 2020.
I thought you said the modern day left. Are we talking about the left now, or are we talking about the left over the past 50, 60 years? Because
Well, to be honest, I would classify those as basically the same thing. Like, the modern left is the left of the last 60, 70 years. That's pretty modern.
Yeah, but
You guys have to keep in mind that the
they
left...
should have kind of gotten to an agreement what is considered recent, what is considered modern in the
Yeah,
like relative to this topic. Like that would be where I would go is one, define what is violence. He did that really easily. He got that ground covered. Next is just get a clear idea of what you would even consider to be recent. Because if you want to go the last 5 years.
Well, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just do like a general historical case and say, look, over time, this would require more work, but you could do it if you wanted to approach it. You'd say overall, when taking history into account, the left is more violent or the right is more violent or whatever. I think that would have been more interesting. And it would still
interesting, but a little bit less based on the topic, to be honest.
It would be a lot less topical, as in relevant to modern day events, but still, it would be a lot more interesting.
What is the specific wording of the topic on when it comes to time frame?
The specific wording, there is no wording on that. The specific wording on the resolution is the left more violent than the right? So you can go in a number of directions with that.
Say, that's a little too generalized. I would have said the right. Well, one, I would clarify the U.S. right. Two, I would clarify an indication of how recent you want to go. Yeah. Well, a lot of the times what happens is they get into these debates when it comes to modern day debate, and they'll say, okay, this is the topic I want to debate. This is the topic that we want to agree on, and they don't get specific on the wording. So as the moderator, you just throw in whatever they tell you. Yeah. Even though James probably is aware, like, this is not ideal to have your topic so broad.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did. So you can go in a number of directions with it, and this is what they chose to do. They're kind of improvising. But my point is that the left of the last 60, 70 years is the modern left, because left wing that came from the 1960s and beyond is fundamentally different to the left wing that was before that. This is true. So, modern left, even if you were to stretch back to like 1975 or whatever, still would count in my opinion.
You had the caveat of modern day left here.
We're talking about, so I don't know where you want to put the delineation. Like I said, 1990 to 2020 is a good range to see this over time. And then, of course, also,
I would say saying 1990 to 2020 is a really bad.
No, I wouldn't grant that. I would go.
I would never grant that. Because a lot of the time, especially if you want to say, if he says, I want to look at a modern context, you say, okay, well, that's not a modern damn context, because in debate topics, if it does pertain to modern day events, as in what's happening now, you want as recent as you can.
There's a difference between modern and current. You guys got to understand, there's a distinction between modern and current here. So if we're talking about modern, this is like an era that we're in. We are in the modern era. So this is what we call our time period right now. But current is like what's going on in the news, what's been going on in the news in the last like 5-10 years. So I would have said current.
Right, but he's trying to say we want to look at more of a recent time frame. Cutting out the last 5 years when you're only looking at over a 30 something. It's because that's what his study shows. His study is outdated. But like you got to get, when your debates, especially anything that's with modern day politics and recent politics, the newer the study you can get, the better you'll do. Most likely, the better information will have for you. If you got something from last week, use it. If you got something from yesterday, use it. If you got something from 3 hours before the debate and you just happened to see it before you went on and you were able to quick read it, use it. If you go in and tell me you can't cite anything, within the last 5 years, according to this one study, then I'm going to tell you your study is missing a very important part of information. And in this topic, it's actually very relevant.
It's incredibly relevant. And what I would do is I would actually attack the methodology of the study, because actually I've seen this study floating around the site, and a lot of people have called its own methodology into question, saying that it skipped over like very significant events that would sway the data
Right.
significantly. So
He
it's not
does
even,
put
like,
it into
recent stuff.
question.
It's like stuff that happened from 1990 to 2020 that they skipped over because it
Yeah,
wasn't
they
convenient.
literally
So
were
if I was
being
him, if I
a
was
little bit.
the Jake guy, because that's who's debating the right wing position, I would attack the methodology of the study here. We'll check chat.
which he, spoiler alert, does
Yes.
put it into question a little bit, but he was already winning. By the way, if you concede a definition, most of the time you're probably going to lose.
Yeah,
if
but
you
he
just
did concede
let-
the definition.
If you
By the
just
way.
let them have it, if you cannot do really well on their definition that they proposed, which most people aren't researched enough to be able to do that in most topics.
Yep.
If you think you can just go into a debate that you only have your case for and don't know a ton of other arguments outside of your case that you brought, do not ever take a definition that you did not put forth.
Unless you know that even with that new definition, you're still gonna win, which is a super advanced skill that a lot of these
Right,
guys
but-
apparently don't seem to have.
Right, but the thing is like, if you have little information on the subject beyond what you're bringing
Oh,
is
yeah.
what you're fighting for.
Yep. Don't even
Plus
do
whatever
that.
your opponent has is what you're fighting against. If you allow them to decide how the debate's going to go, because you have to understand, definitions are frameworks that are used to understand things within a debate round. It judges the entire way we need to think about things.
Yep.
It's the same thing when it comes to conceding actual frameworks. If I say, okay, this is an agreeable framework, now the entire debate is put up to and is going to be reviewed by people watching as, okay, we're using this framework. This is what they both agreed on.
Yeah.
If you lose under that framework and everybody sees it, you suck. You fail.
Islam Guy Answer says, quote, "Bro, you know how many philo bros, so philosophy bros, try to run arguments against my positions, and I dismantle it by just saying I don't grant your definition."
Aww.
Yeah, it's a really nice.
Wait, you're telling me I can't just put forward a definition and expect idiots like this just to take it every single time?
No, not.
Wait, you
not
tell me
unless
some
your
people
opponents
actually
are
have the.
tards.
You're telling me that people actually have debate knowledge and understanding of how debate works as a sport? No way.
So Cato handled, if you don't want to look at the 1975, Cato handled that, the 5 years from 2020 to now.
Okay, and so which study do you want to look into first?
I mean,
Which one is the key one? What's your favorite one?
There's no key one. Literally, these are just facts.
The pillar of your argument. So which one do you want to look into first?
Hold on. If you have multiple studies, you know which one. You should be reading them enough to know which one helps your case the most.
Yep.
You should know that, and if you're
should
upset,
know
your
the
opponent
pillars of
says,
your
"Let's
argument."
look at the best study you got. Let's look at the best
He's
stuff
like,
you got."
"Oh no, I don't have a best study."
See,
Like,
here's the
okay,
thing.
bro.
You
Calm
can
down.
have multiple studies that are really good, and you can even save the quote unquote better ones for later if you want. There is some actual tactics that you can do to mess with that and say, look, here's one that I want to go to first. Not necessarily the best one, but here's the one I want to go to first. And we
Yeah.
can spend time and fight on this one, so that way eventually later I'm going to bring you up this one, and you're not necessarily going to be. And if I can defend my first source pretty well, then it's going to be easier to fight for your second one, most likely, if it's similar in argument, which these studies seem to have been.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know. Take your pick. Let's do the CCJL.
Yeah, let's let your opponent
CCJL?
pick what thing they want to attack. let them.
This is really sloppy, by the way, guys. Don't do this. Like,
I'm just
if
gonna
you're-
say
if you're doing
here's
debate competitively, don't do that.
like if you have multiple things, do not just let your opponent pick and choose which one they want to destroy first.
Unless you're that confident, which this guy's not.
No, this guy, you can see by the way he's talking. Like when he was in his opening statement, he was clearly flustered. When he is
Yeah.
talking, he's constantly saying eh.
And that's going to become more pronounced as we go on, by the way.
He gets more and more flustered.
he gets
By the
more
way,
flustered.
do not allow your opponent to get you in a position where you're flustered. Do not. If you're visibly flustered, oh, devastated.
Oh, can you link me the study or?
Yeah, absolutely. This is very interesting for a debate. I don't think I've ever been pouring through studies.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yep, you don't do
Oh.
that.
I'm cringing right now.
So
man.
hold on, let me explain from a debate perspective what he just did. He said he basically just told his opponent that I haven't done debate before. I didn't really think that you're gonna put my stuff into question, even though I'm appealing to it.
Yeah. This is really bad. This is
I didn't actually expect to have to do deep research into that, which is literally the second part of that. I didn't really expect to have to actually know my sources. To actually pick through
Don't
and
go into a debate where you're talking about empirical findings. Now, you guys know I don't really do that much. But if you're talking about empirical findings, okay, the last thing you do is say, I don't know my source, because your source is your entire argument.
which he didn't straight up say that, but he essentially
But
said that to people
he
who know
essentially
what's up.
said that by saying that he's never had to actually go into.
He said it was
the
interesting.
methodology
He didn't
and-
know that this is how debate works.
He's never had to do it. I guess no one's ever pressed him on the methodology of the studies before. He's never looked at the nuances. Like, that's how empirical debates work, by the way. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, supposed to. This guy
See, you
apparently
can get
didn't
away with this
understand
kind of
that.
stuff. You can get away with this kind of stuff when you're doing more philosophical debates.
They don't say it like
have to
that even
source
still.
that much, okay? But even then, you don't really grant that. So yeah, this is
That was
really
just
bad.
painful.
I think this alone, this and the definition blunder, kind of makes him lose already. But it gets worse. By the way,
Oh, it definitely does. Yep.
That's not usually how this works, but
it
if
is
you
how
want me
this
to,
works.
I'm-
No,
It
hold on.
literally is.
He said
how
this is not
works.
usually how this works. Maybe not for you, but that is how the format works, and
That's-
is how these arguments have to play out.
Yeah. And,
I'll be game.
Luckily enough for him, he's able to make himself sound smart enough to people who really aren't paying attention. But when he's doing this,
We are
he's
paying
making these
attention.
micro concessions, and all of this, it adds up, and it's like this guy really has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, he has no,
He-
and it's going to be made evident soon. By the way,
If I
that he has no idea what
if
he's
I
talking
went
about.
to a debate tournament and started saying, "Well, I didn't know that I actually had to read my source and give you specifics on my source when you ask for them," then I would get farmed. If I said something to that extent, even something that hinted at it, my opponents would say,
You
"Anybody
win.
watching, judge, this guy has no clue on his own source and doesn't even think that I should be putting it into question. He didn't even think that I can do that. That I'm allowed to do that."
I didn't know this
In
how
an
it usually
evidence
worked, man.
style debate, an evidence-based debate.
It's empirical, right? Like, this is the only way you win. What? I don't even know how you mess this up.
So hang on.
Yep, let's find it. So the CCJL study, and did you have like a rough overview of what this is?
Yeah, it's hang on. I could tell you, but then I would not be able to type this in and find it. So just give me a second. Bear with me. Okay, study.
Brenton checks this out. Folks, check out our new memberships. We have 3 levels for
Skip that.
Also,
Is this what
anything
we're doing
that you're
for
going to
debates now? Is this
appeal
like
to-
some?
He acts as if this is some new thing.
Wait,
Is
hold
this
on.
some
Let me
new
hear him
thing,
out.
new
Let me hear him
trend that
out.
we do?
Hold on.
Is this a thing we're doing for debates now? Is this like some weird what is
You
it?
should know about the studies that you're
Jubilee
citing.
stuff. No, I know. I'm fine with the stuff citing. It's just I've never actually like. It's pretty dry to just sit here and go through a debate. We can.
I'm sorry, but
it's
you're
called-
arguing on empirical data, bro. This is how
called-
you do it.
It's called pulling your evidence card. If I don't think that somebody's being legit about something, or I think there's missing information out of a study, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to say, okay, can you actually provide me evidence of that? And you best believe, if you are a debater, you won't be, most of the time, you won't be just searching for your document. Whatever you want to quote, whatever you want to look at, whatever you know is going to be pulled in the question, if you can anticipate where they're going to go, you have that linked in your notes. Whatever you're using for any kind of note-taking, prep, like note-taking and evidence-based debates and empirical kinds of debates, that is 100% needed. You have to have whatever you're going to use, whatever you're going to have to fight on, whatever you know you're going to have to fight on, that better be hyperlinked.
Islam Garnisher says, it's so incredibly clear he looks flustered, which makes him look terrible. Yeah, don't do that. You lose points for that in competitive stuff. And also, even if you're not doing competitive stuff, you look like you're not confident.
Because a lot of, especially internet debates, are based more so around rhetoric.
And logic, unfortunately.
Yes. So people are going to say, now sometimes people are also going to say, based on their own biases, that like, look, this guy won this debate because of this, when in fact they didn't. But like, if you have good rhetoric, you could objectively lose on points, and you're probably still going to be seen as winning the debate,
winner,
depending on a lot of other factors.
But his rhetoric's not that good either. Are you gonna say
it's awful? He already conceded the
says-
definition. What do you mean?
He says, the first thing I'm doing if I get to a data-related debate, which you don't really do. I don't really do that either for this exact damn reason. Who the hell wants to go through all studies?
Yeah, this is really boring.
Boring.
It's
It's
annoying.
lame. Okay?
You also don't get as much variation in argument. It's not as fun to do these kinds of debates.
It's prepping for studies left, right, and center, and never saying, oh, well, I don't know my own buddy source. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't ever say anything to the extent of, I didn't read my source, or I need to go, like, there is a case of, like, oh, they want to put something in the question, and I need to go check, or go find that thing in the study. But there is only so much of that's allowed, and especially depending on what it is that they're questioning, you just look bad with the fact that you have to go sit and pore through your own study about it.
If I cite a study, I will have the link, remembers, method, and quotations memorized in a doc ready to paste in. Yeah. You also need to be prepared to defend the methodology if it gets put into question.
Especially on these sketchy studies that he's using.
Yep.
I want to know about the methodology of the study, and I want to know about who funds the
it's right
study
there.
and,
Just sent
and
it
who
to
they
you.
are.
See, this guy's going where he's supposed to. Now, I will say that the funding thing isn't super important. He's gonna later call it into question because of the funding alone, and that's fallacious. And the Brenton guy identifies that rightfully, but
Which was the only thing he identified rightfully throughout the entire debate.
yeah,
But yeah, the CCJ.
He had already lost at that
LS,
point.
This is
yeah, he's already lost in my opinion.
the here we go. The title is Far Left versus Far Right Fatal Violence, an empirical
This is
assessment
the-
of the prevalence of
this is the-
ideologically motivated.
Oh, he
that
messed
we're
up.
seeing.
He messed up. It's over. This guy's study is fatal violence. Fatal violence. if you'll recall, the definition does include fatal violence, but it's not
It's
restricted
not limited to.
to fatal violence.
Yeah, you got to remember,
Homicides
like,
in the United
like I
States.
said, you conceded a definition, which is a way of thinking about the particular issue throughout your debate.
Yep.
If you concede that definition and then want to appeal to a particular part of that definition, that's fine. But what you got to do then is you got to say, look, if we're just looking at fatal deaths, or if we're just looking at fatalities alone, here's what we got. Because what he has to do now is, if he wants to use this and get access to using this argument, because he doesn't have any other evidence, he does not have any other examples of anything else included in the definition
Except
of violence,
for fatal.
except for murders specifically, not even just fatalities in general.
Yeah.
Just murders. If he's only going to look at murders, what you then have to do is do this thing called weighing, which, like, you preferably don't want to get into that kind of ground on debate like this. You can, but what you'd rather do that in different kinds of debates where it's what's better in general for this thing to do. So, if, like, let's say it's what's better for the U.S. to do, this or this, then you get more into weighing. But here, now he has to say, well, you should value murders more than you should value any other kind of violence, which
I
he's
guess
not
is
going to get
reasonable
access
enough, but
to.
that's the problem, that he only has. And by the way, those studies for murders can be called into question themselves, and that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna try to do that. But because he only has murders, and he's saying these are more weighty, well, you gotta have more than just the murders then. Because even if you have, like, I mean, even if he does it the way he's supposed to, he's still gonna end up losing on weight because of the stupid genocide argument he made later. But
Yeah, he got what we call a turn pulled on him.
Oh,
He
man.
doesn't realize that sometimes your arguments actually need need to have good substance in them to actually be useful, because otherwise they're more detrimental than anything.
Yeah, just watch.
States.
Right. So you're talking about, this is only talking about fatal violence.
Yes, because that's the most important kind of violence, and that's the one that I prepared for specifically. Because
See, you didn't prepare for anything. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. He didn't prepare for anything else. But
And
the
you
problem
don't
is,
say that, especially. That's the one thing, is
problem
if
is-
you get caught in a situation like this,
Ooh,
one,
you
be
never
better
say
at
that.
research. You
you
never say that.
Even
You
if
say,
your research is trash, you never say that.
even if you're
Oh.
only going to ever look at that part of the debate, what you say is, if we want to look at fatalities, murders specifically, here's what we have. And then when the rest gets pulled in the
See,
question, you
because
got to
here's
do
the
the best work you
problem,
can.
right? Here's the issue with the way he's trying to frame this. Even if we were to grant him every single part of his argument, the only thing he'd be showing is that when right-wingers commit violence, they know how to get the job done, so to speak, and they know how to actually end lives, and they're more effective at it. He wouldn't actually be showing that the right is more violent. Because
And-
the definition of violence calls for more than just the fatalities, and so that's all it would show. And even, let's say, if we gave priority to weighting the murders and fatalities, if you can pull more instances of them causing non-fatal violence, but the quantity is greater, you still lose because because they outweighed you.
Yep, and you have to be able to then justify why yours weighs equally.
And you can't because they pulled more
can't.
quantity than you.
Right. I mean, you can try. Right. There has been arguments that have been ran
Oh.
about certain topics. On empirical topics, weighting isn't as good as, like, actually proving your point to just objectively be the case.
Well, here's the thing. Because weighting is the only measurement you got here, if Jake was to pull more examples by saying, look, there's just so much more instances of non-fatal on the left than fatal, then he wins. Because
Right.
It's about quantity.
Well, there is a level of like where the actual impact of whatever it is can potentially outweigh the quantity of something, but you have to then do the justification and defending, and you need to have really tight arguments on them to try and prevent them from getting access, from getting the ability to use the arguments that they present related to other kinds of weighing, and then say, look, this is what we got. Murders, they weigh more because they're obviously more impactful on an individual case than if somebody were to get, like, let's say, injured or something thanks to political violence.
because of
You just
the Charlie
agreed
Kirk
to the
assassination.
other definition, which is coercion and intimidation and all
mean,
these sorts of things.
I
This is
agreed
clearly
to it
political
for the
violence.
purpose of the debate going forward, but
Loss.
That's the point.
Loss. That's GG right there.
Ooh, that's literally the point.
That's GG. He's done.
He's done.
I didn't know that that was the definition until like you came in and said the definition. We didn't go over this before.
Then no, that's dishonest framing on him, because what happened was he put that statement in his opening. Which
was
statement,
before his,
definition,
by
which
the
was
way.
Before his, and then instead of rebutting that or saying I don't agree to that definition in his own opening statement, he just said,
Or
okay.
pushing, he might have listed a definition, but I doubt it. I don't think he did.
No, he did not.
Okay, but even if he had, you have to fight for it. You don't just get access to your definition just because you said it once. A lot of times people will bring up arguments or bring up little pieces of evidence or this, that, and the other thing that could win them debate rounds. But if you don't actually extend it and use it and gain access to it and fight for it, people are going to forget that they even exist, and you're just not going to be allowed to use it.
Beforehand.
That's,
So, like,
well, we're in the
if you
debate
wanna
now,
keep it
so
to-
we agree to definitions during debates. This is what happens during a debate. You agreed to the definition, and now you're just
Okay,
focusing on one meta
so-
part of the definition.
Let me explain.
Oh no.
My opening statement is what is focusing on one definition, because I was most concerned with murders, because this is in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, which was a murder. Now, you said in your opening statement, which I did not know you would say, that you wanted to talk about violence beyond simply just murders. And I'm fine with doing that. We can do that going forward. But the fact is, you can't retroactively blame me for having a more specific definition than your more general definition.
When
Here's
the
the
topic
problem,
is
right?
when the topic's definition and the word that they use is defined in a more general way than you tried to limit it down to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By the way, you agreed to that definition both in the start of this open dialogue and implicitly in your opening statement. And if you had a problem with the general way in which he defined it, the broad sort of way that would allow him to score more points, then you could have said something in your opening statement, and you did not. You spent like most of it just yapping about how we're all brainwashed by the media. Literally, that's what he did. That's literally what he did.
Yeah, and you gotta understand, like in this format of debate, you want to respond. You want to respond while you have time to speak, because in a lot of these scenarios, you'll get cases where you won't get a chance to speak, right? So,
Yeah.
that being the case, you want to say, like, look, I don't agree with your definition. Here's a better definition of what that's topical, and this is why it's better for the topic.
And he's saying that he's like retroactively trying to bind him to a definition that he arbitrarily came up with. No, because you had an opportunity to say, I'm not going to assent to that definition, even in the opening dialogue, which we did play for you guys. And he said, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
Also, you don't get to just say, oh, well, you can't expect me to do this, this, and this because my prep wasn't for this. Well, one, you got to be smart about the topic and say, look, this is the topic. Here are the words associated to the topic. Here's where the topic could potentially go. If you can't put 2 and 2 together and get something around the answer
lost.
4,
I mean, you've lost on many counts now.
and you don't concede any of this. If you sucked at prepping, you don't make it so obvious. You don't let me go away.
You don't
go around.
say that, oh, I only prepped for murder.
Yeah, you don't say that ever.
Now,
Never
if we
say
had
that.
said this beforehand, before the debate even started, maybe we should have done that. Then that's one thing. But like otherwise, there's nothing there, dude.
This is pretty clear cut, dude. We're talking about political violence. We're not talking about political violence that results in murder. We're talking about that's the
Yeah, because even if you went that route, all you'd be proving is that the right is better at it, not that they're more violent.
Yeah.
topic of the debate is political violence. You just agreed to a definition of political violence. So does acts like arson and mob
Stop
do this.
whining, bro.
Do
He's
not
gonna-
whine.
He's gonna keep whining.
He's gonna do this whole
violence?
Oh boy.
boy.
Oh, you're telling me I actually have to debate properly. Ugh.
I actually have to get work for my arguments. I can't just go on here and say whatever I want.
And intimidation, do they not count as
Yes,
political
but
violence?
not to the degree that murders count.
But they're
because
still political
murder
violence,
is
so
a
that's
bit-
what
But
we're...
I would
By the
even-
way, if I was Jake, I wouldn't even grant him that, to be honest.
yeah, and I would say
I'd
that
push back
I
on
would
that.
say I would say, look, if you are intimidating political opponents, that can change how political opponents present themselves.
And it
to
does,
the
by the
public,
way, in
and
practice.
it does. And if you can prove that, which isn't hard at all.
I mean, these guys know it, which is why you have people like Destiny advocating for the continuation of violence against conservatives, so that they're intimidated, so that they stop.
yeah, that cuck is insane.
He's a lunatic. Okay,
He
but
literally is advocating for Trump supporters to be shot at a
in
high
the
rate
streets.
in the streets. Yeah,
We're debating about.
And
We're
you call
not
us
debating about
radical.
political violence that ends up in
I
murder.
mean, if you want to sit here and be like, if you want me
And
to
to get
sit down
definitions? Oh,
and go and
excuse
look
me.
for like what the statistics on arson are and what the statistics on poisoning are and what the
You should have done that.
statistics of like saying a mean thing are, like I can do that.
Saying a mean thing doesn't count as violence, man. Not
yeah,
under the
no.
definition that he.
You don't have to.
that he
You have
said.
to understand the topic enough to know what you're saying, because words actually matter. When I'm debating, I'm not worrying about trying to talk as fast as I can and say words to sound like I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to speak concisely. I would rather speak to you like this with pauses instead of saying, I can talk really fast and I can explain the entire situation to you in depth. Yeah.
Which you can't do.
But again, that would be something that I would have to prepare for ahead of time. Where specifically,
Bro, you
suck
had
because
time.
can't
Why
prepare-
did you take this debate, bro?
You don't say I should have prepared for this, because damn right you should have. That's
yeah,
the problem.
Damn right, you should have.
That's not my fault.
Lose.
That's not my
I
fault. You
prepared
didn't
for
do
murders.
that.
Now,
You suck.
if, as I said, I am perfectly opening to talking more broadly.
Opening.
However,
Hold
if we're
on.
going to talk more broadly,
You shouldn't be
That
open
wor-
to that.
hold on, hold
you
on, hold
shouldn't
on.
be
He-
open to that though. Strategically.
But he's opening, not open. He's opening to that. See, this is the thing. When people see you, like even things like that, that does matter, because
Oh,
if I
yeah,
see that
little
and I'm
errors like that,
passively
keep adding-
watching, if people keep like, if I'm just passively watching or listening to this as I'm doing something, and I hear a debater going, opening to the oh boy. If I hear that, I'm gonna be like, oh,
oh, this
well,
guy's
maybe I
losing.
was on the side, but now I'm starting to put to question if he actually knows what the hell he's talking about, and
Which
the
he
fact
doesn't.
that he's doing all this bad. This is just bad. You can be intellectually honest
By the
and be
way,
good at debate at the same time.
if I was that guy, what I would do is I would not actually be willing to go in that that open direction, that general direction, because I am only prepped for this, and I admit
Right.
it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even entirely.
I wouldn't
concede
admit that, but if I was him and I did all this stuff, I wouldn't want to go into that direction. I would
Yeah,
say,
here's the
no.
thing: is you gotta kind of keep your cards close to your chest. If you don't have something, act as if you're indifferent on having it or not, and just proceed.
You're not indifferent because you're gonna lose, and you know it.
Yeah,
you're
but
gonna
the thing is, you gotta just keep fighting. You gotta fight on the points that you know you can try and win on. And if you aren't going to win in the first place because your prep sucks, and there's only so much you can do about it. From a debate standpoint, debates have to go on, and you still have to try and win the argument that is in front of you.
broadly about it, we have to actually do that. Like you
Yep.
don't just chide me for not reading your mind and knowing exactly what definition you wanted to use.
What are you talking about?
Hold
he
on,
literally
and-
told you.
And it's not even a reading mind thing. He's trying to gaslight him into thinking that like, oh, I should feel. He's trying to guilt trip him and be like, look, you should feel bad for trying
Because
to
I
expect
suck
me.
at prep. Because
Yeah.
I didn't do what I was supposed to
Not
do.
only that, but because I didn't actually understand the resolution that I was presented, I didn't actually think that we were going to go there. And you're
that was
using
your
a
fault.
definition, and you're using a definition that I wasn't exposed to. Did he read the title of the debate? I would literally ask him that. If I was in the conservative's position here, or at least the conservative defender, I don't know if he's actually conservative.
He is. Yeah, I know that. I know who he is.
Okay, yeah. So, but even if he wasn't, like, I would say, look, do you even know what the topic is? And does violence? What is violence? How would you define violence? Even though we've
Why
already
is it better
accepted
than my
it,
definition?
right? But you already accepted mine, so we're gonna continue to use that because you
yeah,
thought it
it's
was-
he's
you
like,
thought
oh
it
well,
was good.
you're trying to retroactively bind me to this. No, he told you in the beginning and in the open dialogue that this is what you're gonna do.
and you
so,
agreed to
yeah.
it. And
Before
and the thing
I-
is,
No, I
is
think
like,
that I was perfectly good faith about it. I came in and the first thing I said is, let's agree to a definition. You agreed to the definition. Okay.
You will
And
find
then-
that I
and
agreed to the
then-
definition
and
after
then
your
I
opening
asked you what
statement.
study you was. Well, look,
Yeah, and you still agreed to it.
you still agreed to it. That's the problem. And now you're trying to act as if,
Now you're trying to
oh, I
backpedal.
shouldn't be. Yeah, now you're being inconsistent, which looks bad. You don't want to be inconsistent. He put himself in so many binds that, from a debate perspective, it's very hard to say what he should do here, because he shouldn't have gotten himself into this position.
Objectively speaking, he's losing.
A good
really
debater
badly.
would never get themselves into a position. Even so, you could be
Even
out
close.
researched. You could be out debated. You could be outdone in tactics. You could be all of these things, but you shouldn't be falling for this dumb garbage.
Yeah.
He's literally, I would literally drill him on everything. If your opponent doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, be aggressive. Make it clear to everyone. He cannot stand
like
up
what you did
under
for Silver.
any level of pressure. Yes, poor Silver.
For Silver.
Poor
Aw.
little Silvis.
looking for, and this one was only looking at one part,
Look,
so it doesn't look
James,
at a comprehensive look. Are you
we're
just going to interrupt
arguing
every time I
about
speak? I was
semantics at this
pretty
point.
nice to you,
Okay,
actually.
Hold on one sec.
I wasn't
let's-
saying you were being mean to me. I'm just saying you're seizing on something that's not important. If you want to have this discussion,
What do you mean you're seeing on
It's
something
very
that's not
important.
It's very important.
It's literally
It's
the
the
entire way
definition
you
of the
think
entire
about
debate.
the literally.
It's the
It's the
definition.
entire.
If you can't meet the standards that the definition has set for you, then you lose the debate.
Especially
is
if you agreed to
literally-
it, and you couldn't provide a counter definition.
The definition is
I'm
not
perfectly fine
important.
with
got
having
yourself
that
in 20
discussion.
different binds.
Okay,
Definitions
but
are-
I think it's fair. Hold on one sec. I do think it's fair just to try to converge on a single definition. There will be more
I
productivity.
am fine.
Clutch, James.
Dude, James is probably like, "What the hell? What is this guy even doing?" Dude, I wonder
With
if
that
he,
going forward.
I
I just
wonder
can't.
if he has a way where he just tunes everything out until he gets annoyed of hearing the same voice in his ear, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I don't even know what the hell's going on, but I'm going to start paying attention, and then I'm going to stop them once I have context." I wonder if that's what he does,
I don't know, man.
dude.
go
Because I would be
back in
so sick of
time
watching
and
this
change my
garbage.
definition and change
Okay,
all
so
of my
what's
research.
the one we agree on? What's the one we agree on? Go.
Okay, so here's the problem. You didn't provide your own. You're like, oh, I can't change my definition. What do you mean? What definition was yours? You didn't
Yeah, you
give
didn't-
one.
You didn't give one, and you didn't even try to critique his.
Going forward.
I
We
am
already
fine
agreed on
with
it.
opening up the discussion to include more kinds of things
Okay,
other than.
great.
No, mistake,
No,
mistake,
don't
total
do
mistake,
that.
total failure. You're done. It's over.
If you don't have the prep for something, why would you go to uncharted territory if you know your opponent is prepped for it? Because it's
No, 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 I
obvious.
think-
Yeah, he's very clear.
He
I
wa-
mean, even in
he's
his own
pushing
opening
you.
statement, he was prepped for it, and he did cite incidents that did happen. So
He's pushing you
Here we go.
into going to an open discussion. If
And
I
you're
don't have
letting him.
anything, you're literally allowing, if I'm the conservative, right? You're literally giving me access to my arguments by saying, yeah, we'll go to this turf that you're gonna win on, that you want to play on. This is your playing field that you are going to destroy me on. Yeah, let me do that.
And this guy knows it, and he's still allowing it because he must be that confident. Except he's not. Like, what are you doing?
If he was that confident, he wouldn't be having these issues with speech.
Is the most serious, and that should carry the most weight.
Shush, please. We're gonna, all right, pardon my.
Bro, James sounded so
James-
annoyed. Oh
Dude,
my god, dude! If
Literally,
James doesn't like
does
you,
this.
if James doesn't like you, you
You suck.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Suck.
But here we go right now. We're gonna do that right now.
Why did he go
Using
silent?
The definition that you both just agreed on, gentlemen, please continue the conversation.
Okay.
Bro, he sounds pissed. Like, actually. he
Dude,
sounds so
and
mad.
James sees the word, like, just for context, for people who don't watch modern day debate, the most garbage debaters I've ever seen who appealed
Yeah,
to the most
literally the
sophist
worst
nonsense.
freaking players. They're terrible. They're bad. Okay.
Not only are they bad at debating, they're also just assholes because they know that they're not very good and they're not going to win on this, and the other
Matt
thing, but they're so
Dillahunty.
arrogant. Matt Dillahunty. Yes. Matt.
Oh my gosh.
But you see a lot of topics on very specific issues. There's going to be a lot of people that just appeal to this most dumb garbage sophistry nonsense, and once you're going through it as a debater, it's the most frustrating thing ever. You feel like you're getting violated when you have to deal with the garbage that some people actually put you through. And James sees it all the time, day in and day out. Every debate he's sitting there and watching and moderating, he's like, I would hate to debate this person so much, regardless if I know about the topic, regardless if I would school them, regardless of the case. He has to
you
shut
brought
up.
up a lot of different studies. We're talking about the modern day left here. And when it's not just about murder, tell me what your data set is and how that data set is compiled.
I mean, do you want to know what the data set in the study is? Because they say that in there. Or do you want to know, like,
I want to know which study.
But why are you appealing to your study, which we've already established is limited? Why are you appealing to that? What are you doing? Stop.
Well, that's because the only thing he has, obviously, right? Like,
But he's still appealing to it.
that's because he has nothing else to appeal to, and he's being asked to
Study
appeal
you're
to
talking about,
something.
and I want to know how you get a comprehensive view that the left
okay,
is more
I
does
just
more
I
political
literally
violence.
just sent that to you. It's the CCJLS.
So that's
you
only
look
about
down at-
murders.
Yeah.
So
it
now when
is-
you're talking about political violence, we're not just talking about murders. Okay, we're talking about political violence as a whole.
You see him whine
Do
again.
not do that.
Stop whining.
Do not. Okay, here's the thing. Do not ever display any kind of unwarranted level of frustration, whining, complaining. That, like, your opponent has to do something very extraordinary for you to eventually be like, all right, this is getting stupid. Like,
He hasn't, by the way. Not
he
yet.
has, dude. This Jake guy is being super nice to him. He's just
This guy's
letting him dig his
cooking.
own grave.
Yeah.
He's letting you dig your own grave, and
Oh, and you
you're
can
getting pissed at him.
look. You
if
can
you're
look sad
dealing-
about it. I don't want you to be sad about
it's
it.
not that I'm
Face. You can look sad about it. I don't want you to be sad about it.
This is where you've let him dig the hole, and then you hit him with these. You hit him with these lines like, I don't want you to be this about it. I don't want to put you in that position.
I'm sorry.
Then all of a sudden, everybody in the audience sees that you're clowning at him, and justifiably so.
looking
look
And if
sad
you
about
can
it, I'm
show
just
that,
You look
the poor
sad,
guy.
bro.
I want you to be
poor
sad
guy.
about it. I want you to be chipper and in good spirits throughout the entirety of this debate.
Dude, I'm perfectly fine and chipper in good
Fantastic.
spirits.
All right. Well, give me your evidence. Then.
Well, you don't sound like it because you're whining. People who are chipper and in good spirits don't whine.
Then
Well,
please, I
thought
can't wait to
that
hear
My,
was
my evidence for what?
question.
that the left wing.
Ain't no way this guy just asked your evidence for
No,
what? Ain't
guy,
no
please,
way
no.
this kid, dude,
This kid.
this kid.
The worst thing is he isn't a kid.
That's yeah, he's like 42.
That the right wing, that the left wing isn't more political, doesn't engage in more political violence based upon the definition that we agreed on.
based upon the definition that we agreed upon, sure. I will say that based upon the definition we agreed upon, murders should count far more strongly than any other form of political violence.
So he's going
More
where he's
strongly.
supposed to go.
Ow. That's what he has to do, right? He's not
Yeah.
framing it very well. He's not articulating it very well.
But this is what he has to.
But he
resort
has to do
is
this. He
attacking.
has to say, look, regardless of anything, people like living. And living is a nice thing, you know? And a lot of people wouldn't like the idea of saying something if it means that they don't get to live because of it. So therefore, it is a very useful and effective way of suppressing people. And if that's the methodology that's being used, political violence, if it's at a large scale, murders are the scariest, most impactful thing on politics. You could make an argument based around that. Is it a great one when we are talking about violence as a whole? No, but collectively with
not.
other things, it would be
Even if
better.
we gave priority, like I said, even if we gave priority to murders, it wouldn't actually.
You're getting
demonstrate the
outweighed on
thing-
so many things.
It wouldn't demonstrate even then. It wouldn't demonstrate what he thinks it demonstrates either.
Yeah.
It just means that they're better.
Right. But
Because
the other
I
thing
mean,
is,
if we
like,
go down,
you have so many things that, like, he hasn't gotten into the specifics because he
will soon. Don't worry.
he will.
He's gonna be fucking,
assuming.
like an absolute goofball clown boy.
But like, here's the thing:
Get ready.
you gotta understand. Violence does include a lot of things, especially when we're talking about political violence in America and what
He
is
tried to
actually
strawman
relevant.
that definition by being
Cumulative,
like,
cumulatively,
a mean
it's-
word counts as violence. No, it doesn't. We are not the
No.
speak as violence people. Okay, that's not us. We don't believe that.
Yeah,
Silly,
go away.
stupid, dumb.
all the way
Stupid
down to
dumb.
violence meaning mean things that somebody says.
I'm gonna say more stupider because he gets
More
to say more
stupider.
strongly. So I'm gonna say
More
stupider.
strongly. Yeah, dude, we should just start doing that during the middle of
Weigh
our
that
debates.
against the person
Still
being
win.
dead. I don't feel like you could take all of the non-murdery violence.
Murdery. Yep.
Stop.
Your misspeak.
Don't
See, the
stop.
misspeaks every once in a while. It's okay. Cut the uhs out. That's just annoying. People don't like to listen to that. Just slow down. Put spaces in between your speech. But when you do this consistently, you can't pronounce words correctly. You're putting suffixes on that don't even exist.
And put it all
You just
together,
look like
and it
a
would
clown.
still be overwhelmed by the murdery violence if we're trying to say overall whether the left
That's a
is
crazy
more,
claim to make.
Don't
That's a
grant that
crazy
to him.
claim to make.
Don't
Do
grant
not
that to him. No.
never grant him that.
of this
because
or the right. Now,
that's an absurd
if you want to
claim.
go and specifically go in and say, oh, okay, well, the left, Antifa goes into street protests and they throw, I don't know, trash cans through Starbucks windows or something.
They do. Thank you for conceding that.
Then the left
And they do
probably
worse
does
than
that
that.
more than the right.
Lost.
Concession made. You don't do that.
No, hold on. We got to play
See-
this back so everyone knows. Hold on.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Left, Antifa goes into street protests and they throw, I don't know, trash cans through Starbucks windows or something. Then the left probably does that more than the right. And
Notice
through
he
Starbucks
tries
windows
to
or something.
downplay.
Then the left probably does that more than the right.
Look at it.
But
how
also
he tries
football
to
fans.
say or something.
Or
Look at how he
something.
tries to
He tries
downplay it
to,
as he's
he tries to
conceding.
pretend like it's not a devastating concession he just made.
Literally.
Do that. So like the point is that if you want to be general, we can be general. If you want to be specific, we can be specific, but we can't be both at the same time. Just figure out
Hold
like,
on,
which
hold
is
on,
which, and
hold
then we
on,
come to
hold
our
on, hold on.
conclusion.
Hold on.
Yes, you can. Maybe you
Why-
can't
why?
because you only prepared for a specific, but he can because he can tally in all the murder counts and stuff. And then he
Maybe you don't understand how perspectives work, and your mind and your brain function is too low to actually be able to cognitively wrap your head around it. But like, there is such thing as being able to have more nuance to a topic than what you think we can have.
Yep.
I think it's pretty obvious what I want to do, which is to not just base it upon one thing. I think we're talking about the spectrum of political violence. So we're talking about coercion, we're talking about intimidation. And I think that anybody with two eyes, anecdotal evidence is not a good argument, obviously, but anybody with two eyes can see that if a conservative goes to a college campus, just as one example, They need all kinds of security. They're going to get chased out. They could get potentially murdered. If Destiny goes to a college campus, his security is not so erudite.
So that
Watch
is
this.
part of the game
Watch the cope.
conservatives
Literally.
play. That's what and Coulter does. This is what freaking Milo, you got to Google his last name to spell it. Opolis does. They specifically try to make people angry, so people come out and protest them, so that the news cameras come and cover them, and their message goes further. So, yeah, I mean,
So his argument is basically that the right tries to be divisive on purpose, and therefore the retaliation happens. But the problem is that doesn't matter. That adds nothing to your argument.
It's a weak kind
Yeah,
of
of course,
deflection,
the
minimalization argument.
I mean, I wouldn't even grant that in the majority of cases, but some of these guys are trying to be divisive. Some of these guys are trying to get clicks. Some of these guys are trying to bait people. But here's the problem: the fact that they are even able to do that because they can get that reaction proves Jake's point, not yours.
Yeah, you didn't. That doesn't just remove it, and now you're pissing people off. That's the other thing, right? Like, if you did a good job at this, even people who are conservatives could still concede to you that, like, you did a good job in this debate. You showed that the left is less violent, but now you just pissed off a whole bunch of people. You didn't have to be super partial about this.
Are you going to piss
this
off a bunch of
argument.
college students if you're like a hard right conservative and you come in there and, I don't know, tell them like they're going to hell or gay people are evil? Yeah, you're going to get protested on a college campus.
Things no one says.
College students are.
Most of these guys aren't even like.
Dude, I am further right than most of these freaking mainstream guys. You understand that, right?
Literally. I'm probably considered way further right, regardless if I'm as extreme, like, in how much I care about it or not.
Notoriously left wing, and that's part of the learning process. So, like,
Part of the
Okay,
learning
hold on.
process.
Can I?
And then,
Well, yeah,
then
yeah.
they come out of
Can
a
we
bus.
stop this?
Yeah.
So he does this thing where he tries to conflate the idea of at different age demographics, they have particular leanings. He's trying to say that it's based on the age and the point of in the stage of life that they're in, and why people keep switching what party they're a part of. If you look at midterm polling from 2018 to 2022, you'll see that Republicans have been gaining in a lot of groups, almost every single one, by the way. And a lot of them are like in the younger kids generations right now. He's saying that because these guys are college age, the way he kind of conceptualizes this, he doesn't quite say this explicitly, but the way he seems to understand this, which is a misinterpretation of what's actually happening, he's trying to understand it as, okay, people at different stages of their life gravitate more towards one way or the other. But the thing is, it matters more on what they're doing in their life, where they live, what's going on in their life, than it actually matters on their age. And especially with current trends, right? Because people are becoming more and more conservative. Maybe that was true that different age demographics kind of people lean more so one way or the other, which isn't even entirely true in the first place. Maybe that could have been true, but people also didn't lose a lot of trust in the government thanks to a lot of recent events, right? Which saw a rise in people who were more libertarian, conservative people, and people were kind of shifting away from the left's ideas, especially that conservatives have been more and more bold than they ever were before since pre-2016.
By the time they're 23 or 4, they get a head on their shoulders and they stop being left wing.
Possibly. It really depends upon, I guess, their individual life circumstances. But yeah, most kids start off fairly conservative. You and I kind of had like an opposite.
But see,
thing.
he says,
when I was young, I was like Mr.
He says they start off conservative. No, that most of them, especially in the city,
I would not
start off
grant
liberal.
that at all.
If not, they don't
Dude,
care.
I cannot grant that with my own freaking lived experience, man. I'm at a university. Most of these people are liberal AF. Okay.
But he's acting as if all of a sudden they hit college age and all of a sudden switch liberal and then they go back.
They start conservative.
But it's not the
before
case.
College. No, they don't.
It's not the case. Now, that's becoming more and more of a trend. Conservatism has been rising, especially in the newer generations. Like, within the next few years, I bet you it's going to be very hard for liberals to win elections, thanks to both recent events and the fact that there is
And
such a shift.
trends.
Right.
Yeah.
For young
that being the
GOP,
It's
Without
not
was
based
really
on.
into like the
going
first
too
Bush
far.
and
It's not actually
stuff.
based on age. It's based on what's actually going on, the demographics that you're looking at. You're just conflating the two. You don't realize college age people are in college, and they're or the people that you're looking at are the college demographics. People who are actually actively going to college. You're not even looking at the people who aren't in college that are that are college
Like
age,
high
because even in
schoolers.
that, even high schoolers to people who are 29 years old, people from 18 to 29, that's also a very large conservative base. It's only
Huge, yeah.
that you look
I
specifically
mean,
into the subset of
if
them
we're,
that
you
are
know,
in
well,
college.
we can
that are-
divide it in various different ways. Like if we're talking about like the gender demographic, the gender divide, oh, it's absurd. It's scary, dude. Oh,
And it keeps becoming more and more conservative. It's not an age-based thing. That's stupid.
I was like
really
Mr. Young
a mis-
GOP.
a mis-
Without
Was really into like the
interpretation of
first
evidence.
Bush and stuff.
redirecting us back to the
And I
violence
think you
topic.
said you started on the left. But my point is that there are phases within your life and phases within society that people will tend to move in one direction or another. And college is the one where they tend to move left for a while because that's the whole
Yeah.
point.
Look,
of
to be
that
honest,
is
we're not
How
even
is that
looking
related
at.
to
we're not-
violence?
this guy.
Like, this is an unrelated topic.
This guy had to
I'm
go into
entertaining
a whole
'cause-
side quest.
Right. I'm entertaining it because it is
Because it's hilarious.
It's so dumb what he's trying to do here and how he actually conceptualizes what's going on and what he's actually seeing
Yeah,
from data.
we're not
But
looking at why, or like the fact that people are left wing when they're younger or whatever. What we're talking about is the demonstrable violence that goes on when a conservative like Cam Higby recently went out to a college campus and he was assaulted and he was spat on. People they chased him out of there for wearing a MAGA hat and having conservative ideas. The Tesla dealerships were burned. All these conservatives who are going to Portland at the moment are being assaulted. Please tell me where this is happening on the right. I really would love to know.
So he's about to do something that, in response to this, he's about to do something that we meme on about the left all the time, which is basically he's going to try to say it's
I forgot about this
not
part.
happening, but it's good that it is.
Or
So,
if it is,
what-
it's a good thing.
No, not
Or
even
they have
if.
reason
He's
for
saying
it.
he's going to grant that it does happen, and then he's going to say, oh, well, it's justified. That's basically what he's going to do.
Yeah. It's something to that extent that they like to do all the time.
They love doing this.
I mean, the right are like shooting up mosques and churches and stabbing. They're murdering black people.
The right are
just
shooting
black
up
with a-
mosques
with a
and churches.
gladius.
Where is this happening?
Gladius?
Hold on. Quick sponsor though? That would be kind of funny.
Tree of Life shooting. If I'm remembering, the Gladius was in New York.
The
Specifically,
Gladius is also in Blades
they-
of Glory. With an attack speed of like 2.1
How
and
the
a
hell
damage
did
of 120 to 130.
How did
And
somebody get a
has
Gladius?
a 10% chance of applying bleeding for 4.0 seconds.
was
With a speed
done.
angle of like 29 or something.
I think around 59th Street.
26 maybe.
Though it might have been, never. But basically, a white nationalist came in, murdered an old black man with a gladius because he was black for no other reason than that. As I said, most of the murders are race based, and that's on both the right and the left.
So why?
You
How's
had,
that? How's that political violence?
You murdered a guy because you don't like black people and you don't want them to have rights.
That's not political violence, man.
That's
sorry.
Plus, I would push back and I'd be like, okay, you got to show me that that's the case. I'm not just going to let you go on and say that was the case for this scenario.
Yeah.
You actually got to show that this actually what
'Cause
happened.
these guys are known for misrepresenting events a lot. They love to do this.
Especially
These are the
these
same
iceberg
kind of people
incidents.
who tried to convince everybody that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was a Groyper Nick Fuentes fan. Do not let them ever pretend like they know the narrative and what actually happened. Always push back on them.
Not to
Always.
mention, it always changes. You see these incidents happen. The first few days are probably more closer to the truth than what it actually ends up being. Whatever they eventually decide to feed you. But after
Where-
chaos
where-
like that happens, you're gonna get different information. and they're going to settle on what the official narrative is, and people just accept it.
So what this guy does, instead of actually pressing on that narrative and getting caught up in that particular example, he's going to provide a counter example, and it's going to be quite good. It's going to expose the tactics this guy's using, how dishonest he is.
Where did he
terrorism.
express that?
Literally to the police, like after he was caught. He specifically said, I did this because I'm a white nationalist. So,
Right.
yeah.
So all the black people who are killing. So you'd say Irina Zhurutska, that was obviously a political violence. example.
I'm not familiar with that person or that.
Irina Zhurutska was the Ukrainian girl who was killed on the train recently, and he said, I got that white girl.
Oh.
He
Damn.
realized that was a solid counterexample right there. Also,
Or
I
maybe
wouldn't
he was
call her
too
death
dumb.
a political violence either, though.
And neither
I-
neither would Jake, right? He's doing it for the sake of
He's doing an internal
mistake of-
critique. This is what we call an internal critique. Okay, guys, take notes.
I mean, that
Very
guy,
important.
if you want to say
here
that,
we go. Of course, when the shoe's on the other foot, it's never counted.
No,
And this is why
again-
the left wing, you guys are just so dishonest about this, and it just comes out like that. It's almost just too easy to
well,
draw
first,
it out of
again,
you.
I-
You've
I'm
said
not
that
on the
one
left.
person is a race-based political violence, and then the other person is not. Irina, that wasn't political, obviously.
The person who killed
Give me a break,
the
dude.
Ukrainian woman, I was actually going to say you might consider that race.
Oh, you might. He said, I got that white girl.
Well, yes, you might consider that. Again, if you look at
You considered the Gladius situation political violence, and you provided much less details about that than he provided to this. This is
Yep.
arbitrary.
the study that I sent you, it specifically has
Oh, now he wants to go back to the study because he's getting crushed on this point.
both the
Yep.
fact that like the reasons for committing the crime, but also the level of ideology involved in it. And from what I can tell, in the story of that guy, he wasn't part of any particular anti-white organization.
Oh, so now you have to be part of organizations for the. Oh my gosh! Do you see this nonsense?
He wasn't a
Unfortunately.
black nationalist. He was a guy that society failed at every point, and then it
So he's a
eventually-
victim.
I mean, in a way, everyone's a victim all
He's
the
just
time.
he's
but-
like
No. Oh my gosh! This guy wants to say nonsense like that, and then he wants to claim he's not on the left. You are on the left if you believe dumb nonsense like that. Sorry. That's literally a core left-wing tenet.
The other
But
thing,
the
hold on. The other thing that I'd like to point out here is there isn't like anti-white organizations at large because what happens is people are grown up to be fearful of each other from different races, especially if they grew up where it's not as like an integrated area where there's not as many people of different races in these areas, and then they grow up to hate each other. And so it doesn't matter that they're a part of a group or not, because those groups don't exist. It's just the people who were exclusively taught to think a certain way.
hungry people who are stealing just because they're hungry.
I would say he's batshit insane, and he killed
Oh
somebody.
yeah,
because he's
and
not
the white
acting-
guy who walked into the place and shot the black guy, he was just fine upstairs. He was just your
I
full
mean, there's
chips
a
and dip,
level.
wasn't he?
So when, for instance, when the Nazi went into New York and murdered the black man with a gladius,
I'm not going to accept the equivocation, or I guess the conflation of white nationalism and Nazism. Don't let him get away with that. I mean, it's like it doesn't really matter in this debate what that means, but I would not allow him to do that because they're completely different things.
Yeah, but they love
you
to
know-
conflate these things always.
I know they do, but white
They love to
nationalism.
Hold on, they like to complain. A lot of these, they're becoming more and more buzz terms than anything because they just call people those things without
White nationalism
without actually them being the case.
is not Nazism. It's not.
Yeah.
Just because white nationalism is a component of Nazism does not mean that white nationalism itself is Nazism. That's a composition fallacy.
he was behaving logically from his perspective. It's still wrong. It's still evil. He's working on the wrong assumptions there. But there's a level of sanity that you would not find in a random homeless person who just stabbed the person in front of them for absolutely no reason and they said, "Well, I got her because she's
Well,
white."
that person had
Now,
a reason.
He had a reason.
He had a
gave
reason.
you
It
the
wasn't a
reason.
good one. It was a horrible one.
Yeah.
As I said, you can actually classify that under the framework that I have, and it would count, but it would also probably fit into the less ideologically motivated things, because I think the major thing with regard to that guy was that he was just literally insane, and his mother had to like have him kicked out of her house because like he became violent with her. So
Okay.
obviously
Look,
that guy's
I get your point, but I just want the audience to know this right now. Okay. What we are dealing with right now is the typical obfuscation of the left and how they contrive narratives. And he knows it. I know it. You guys all know it listening
Look,
to this.
thinking
They're not
about
going, they're
something
going,
in particular is not
I let you
contriving
speak. I let
narrative.
you
Just to be
speak and
fair.
you'll be silent.
all right, fair enough.
You'll be silent while I speak. All right. So the
Hold
left-wing
on.
violence.
The move he just pulled right there was absolutely and entirely based for
Bro.
rhetoric.
He's humiliating.
You will
him.
be silent when I'm speaking. When it's finally my turn to damn
That's
speak.
humiliating. Oh my god.
They're not
By the
going
way,
to
notice
count.
how he's way more effective with the little speaking time he has. If you actually would clock up all the time and add it all up together,
This guy's
the times
spoken a
between
lot
these
more. The
two,
Brent guy has spoken a
right?
lot more.
It's probably more like a 90-10 scenario. But who's winning? Who's more effective in
Jake
every
is winning.
individual speech?
People like Irina Zhurutska, they will happily, any white person who basically commits a crime, they're going to call this political violence. But then with Irina Zhurutska, I don't know, society really hurt this guy and he really fell off the rails and we should have helped him more. But
Now, if we're being strict with the definition, neither of these examples are political violence because they're not
They're race
intended.
based.
Yeah, they're racial violence because we have like a mini race war in this country. But they're not political.
the white guy,
I mean,
nothing
it's
like
the fact that race
They're-
is politicized is where the weak link becomes apparent. Like the only reason why there is a race war is because we're constantly propagandized to hate each other.
Yeah, but racial violence in and of itself is not political, though.
Right. You
So
have
even
to
if
try
these
and fight
examples-
for that.
Even if the examples that these guys gave happened the exact way that they say they did, they're not political violence.
Right. You have to actually fight for that a little bit more than just saying that, just asserting that.
What we are dealing with right now is the typical obfuscation of the left and how they contrive narratives. And he knows it. I know it. You guys all know it listening
Look,
to this.
thinking
They're not
about
going, they're
something
going,
in particular is not
I
contriving
let you
narrative.
speak. I let
Just
you
be
speak
fair.
and you'll be silent.
All right, fair enough.
You'll be silent while I speak. All right. So the
The
left-wing
fact that
violence,
he
they're
has
not
gotten
going
to this point
to
where the
count.
moderator is like, "Yeah, you fucking tell him," is awesome.
Dude, James doesn't do that kind of stuff. So the fact that this Brenton guy managed to get to that level, ouch.
People like Irina Zhurutska, they will happily, any white person who basically commits a crime, they're going to call this political violence. But then with Irina Zhurutska, I don't know, society really hurt this guy and
The other
he
thing
really
is,
fell off the
like,
rails and we
point
should have
out for
helped him
people
more.
who
But the white guy, nothing like
don't
that.
debate
They're
or
also
look
not
into
going to
debates.
count all of the
The other
violence that was
important thing
done
to
by
note
BLM,
here
for
is,
example,
like,
and the
They're
murder.
talking in very extreme language, and it's a very normal thing that debaters will do because you're trying to show how bad and consequential these things are. Because that's the entire point of having the conversation in the first place. So you blow this stuff out, even if it seems like it's not entirely fair, or whatever the case may be. You take it and you blow it out of proportion because it's winning you the argument.
And the deaths that happen during left-wing riots and all of these different deaths that happen. This is how the left contrives narratives. And if you go into these studies that he's talking about, and if you look who funds these studies, oftentimes what do you get? You get the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you get the Rockefeller brothers, you get all of these different sources of funding, and
Hold on.
these people.
Based comment, but
It's fallacious.
unfortunately
unfortunately.
fallacious. It's
Look,
it's a base
if
comment
you-
for those who
Look,
know.
this is how you can make it not
Yeah.
fallacious, okay? What you can do is you can say because of its funding, it is distorted and biased and cannot be trusted, and then prove it. That's how you make that not fallacious. But just calling out on the funding part and then being like, yeah, well, we get to dismiss it outright because of who funded it. Sorry, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, you don't get to, but it is a base comment nonetheless.
who are moderates, or at least they pose themselves as moderates, are really just left-wing activists. And it's the same with the DAs around everywhere. And what he is espousing right now is this exact same left-wing ideology, where they will try and dishonestly contrive a narrative to make the right look worse, when everybody can see it. We know we're being gaslit by people like Brenton. We know it. We can see it with our own two eyes, and the data crumbles just like that.
So base. So base. This is a base speech, but unfortunately, you committed a fallacy here. You should have tightened it a little bit.
Yeah, if nothing else, call a man a liar. I will point out that appeal to motive
That's what you
is
are,
a
Brenton.
fallacy. So even if something's funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, one, billionaires fund just about everything, so I wouldn't be surprised about literally anything, including right-wing think tanks like the Heritage Foundation. Those
It's
are
also called the
founded
genetic fallacy, more commonly.
Yeah, it's called the genetic fallacy. That's what it's called. But
He says a fallacy based on motive. He didn't even list a motive
what
specifically.
damn motive?
He didn't say it.
This guy's.
He said appeal to motive, but that is not something that he did.
It's not.
So he actually is misrepresenting what fallacy he committed. He did commit a fallacy. You're halfway.
Oh, he did. Yes, you just didn't identify it properly.
It's a
Yeah.
genetic fallacy. There's a very large distinction. He didn't
by
say
oil money.
here's other motives.
Now, for the CCJLS, this specifically, it looks like it's from SUNY, so State University of New York in Oswego, or at least that's where the main researcher is
All
from.
those conservative universities, hey?
I mean, universities are slightly more conservative than people would think, particularly with regard to their economics programs. Now,
that's
obviously,
because
criminal
everybody's
justice.
perception on what colleges and universities are telling to kids is shown by very extreme examples, which did actually happen, and they presume that that's actually the way it is everywhere, in every college, in every part of college. But it is very, 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 very liberal, regardless if you want to say it's as liberal as people will blow it up to be or not.
I'd say you'd get a mix. You'd probably get some activist professors in there, and you'd probably also get some hard asses who, really wanted to just stick it to the criminals. What I would like you to do is talk to me and not to the left.
Yeah, but I would call you
Hold
the
on,
representative of the left, unfortunately for you, because
That's what you've done to
you
yourself.
are the representative of the left, not just because of the position you're taking, but also because
The way you lay it out, the way you
your
fight
own
for it.
ideology is going to make it very clear that you're on the left. Just because you don't want to associate yourself publicly with the left does not mean that you aren't on the left. That's unfortunately not going to work the way you think it does, especially when you start talking about deportation being genocide, which yes, he does say that.
Which he
that
does.
Like
Even-
only
that is
leftists
so-
believe such absurd, ridiculous, preposterous, nonsensical.
You could say that it's wrong without calling it a
propositions.
genocide, because and he also misinterprets both the Merriam-Webster and Geneva Convention definition of what is even genocide to make that argument, and
Yeah,
completely
we'll get
applies
there,
it
don't worry.
incorrectly.
We're close.
Because first off, again, I am not part of the left.
Yeah,
I've
you are.
disassociated myself with the left in 2015, and I did it because I felt pressure to say things that I didn't believe. I don't want team bias to ever infect my thinking.
So basically, you're one of those people that thinks and believes you're a free thinker, but you're not, because
Mhm.
you still espouse all the left wing talking points.
That's even more of an NPC position than having an actual stereotypical NPC position. No, I'm trolling, but that's
So I am not going to do things that will put me into column A or column B, because
Well, regardless of whether or not you want to consider yourself in column A or column B, you're doing things that would put you in that box. It doesn't matter what your self-perception is, it matters what you do.
yeah.
that just makes me dumb.
And you're not pointing out any distinction.
Now, if you want to talk about the left obfuscating things, obviously, yes, people can obfuscate things, but
People, the left at large.
do you
their
want to
whole
have
rhetoric,
a
everything
nuanced discussion,
does
or do you
that.
want to have a broad discussion?
The entire left does that, I'm sorry. Like the entire media apparatus that's their job.
Gotcha. We can do either one. We just can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have the broad discussion. I mean, look, we're having a discussion about political violence and the definition of political violence. And excuse me for thinking that you can't actually talk to leftists like you. So I'm trying to actually appeal to the audience here. Yes, I'm technically talking to
that was
you.
another thing I wanted to point out. You saying, "Oh, I want you to talk to me," that is the dumbest garbage I've ever heard. When you are in a debate, you appeal to the audience. You say, "Hey, this is what he's doing. This is what these liberals do." Because he's presenting himself as a very leftist-leaning guy, regardless if he wants to identify
And he is
as
one of
that
those.
garbage.
Oh, F off with that nonsense.
Yeah. As regardless of what he wants to claim he is, right? He is presenting himself as a leftist. If you're doing that,
Not only that, but he defends left-wing positions.
and he defends the party at large, being that he's having this conversation in the way he's having it.
But I'm actually
Literally defending them and saying, "Look, this party doesn't engage in political violence as much as the other one does."
trying to appeal to the audience here because people know what you're doing. They can intuit it, but perhaps they can't actually put it they can't actually see exactly how it's done. And I'm trying to demonstrate how this is actually done. And this is why
You're
people
just
like
trying to
yourself
say
who
that
will go,
I'm their
you can
enemy.
interrupt me all you want, or you can be silenced while I'm talking. Thank you, Brenton.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Again.
Okay. And what I'm trying to demonstrate is how people like yourself will obfuscate data. And that example of Irina Zhurotska was the perfect example because that was a clear double standard. And then you had to backpedal because you realized that you realized that you had a massive.
He's just like, dude, he's like, I didn't backpedal.
I didn't think I did. I couldn't. I
didn't do that,
couldn't
did I? It's like,
remember.
this is good.
My brain function isn't
This is
advanced
what
enough
it
to
is.
allow me to think that far back into the
Bro,
past.
he's using that tone of voice, bro. Oh.
They've been telling me that since middle school.
Oh, if you get it, you get it. Oh.
massive double standard there because you assigned
I didn't backpedal,
motives to
you cut
one
me off.
and then you assigned good motives to the other one. The other one was that he needed help. But I think that
The
more
do you
important
want me
thing
to
that
say
we
that
should
the
discuss
Nazi
here.
also needed
more-
help
the
in
more
society? Because yes,
Brenton,
the Nazi who
Brenton.
killed the black man also.
Don't be
I
silenced.
want to.
I just want everybody to realize that anytime any one of these individuals uses the term Nazi, it means absolutely nothing. So, like, because we need to do this, we need to break the association between National Socialists of Germany in the 1930s and, like, random center right wingers that these guys like to call Nazis. They're not the same at all.
there'll be silence in the court.
I want to give Jake a chance to finish up his thoughts, and I promise we'll come back to you, Brenton. We'll give you the same approximately 1 or 2 minutes to respond.
Absolutely.
There'll be silence in the court. Okay, so all I want to know, Brenton, is arson at political rallies, mobs attacking ICE facilities, burning down police precincts, vandalism, targeted vandalism with political motives. If all of these things are, in fact, political violence, where is this happening en masse on the right? Because all you've been able to give me is a shitty study that only looks at one aspect and also a few little examples, anecdotal examples, as opposed to all of the examples that we can give, which is when it happens en masse. Tell me, Brenton.
So first off, I'm going to point out that ad hominem is also a fallacy. And even if
What ad hominem did he do? Hold up.
I was the most biased, evil person in the world who was just trying to trick you with all my fancy words, and that wouldn't make me wrong. That would literally just make me a bad person. And like, I'm not trying to be your roommate, dude. We're just having a conversation. Now, if you want to know why leftists or liberals and progressives, I don't really know who exactly is doing the Tesla burnings. If you want to know why they're going after Tesla,
Here we go. This is what he's doing. This is the it's not happening, but it's good that it is. This is what I'm talking about.
I don't really know who exactly is doing the Tesla burnings. If you want to know why they're going after Tesla, it's probably because Elon Musk was doing stuff like destroying Social Security. And to express their anger, they destroyed his property, which is bad and wrong. And I will denounce that from now until the fucking cows come home, because
Is it political violence?
doesn't work.
Yep.
However, that is, if you look, when people are going to be violent, whether it is the right or the left, they tend to target different things because they care about different things.
I don't care why they do it, Brenton. Is it political violence is what we want to know.
Of course it's political violence. Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
then you lose the debate, buddy, because
No,
where's there
oh
all
my
that political
God.
violence happening
No,
on
because
the
the
right?
debate is who has it more.
Yes,
does it
exactly. So
more.
tell me what's happening on mass on the right. I really can't wait to hear it, please.
I mean, en masse on the right,
Yes.
the freaking Trump administration is.
Donald, you are muted. But this is where this guy tries to do a stupid genocide argument. Watch this.
Committing what is essentially a genocide in the United States.
Please explain how the Trump administration is committing a genocide in the United States.
The definition of genocide is an attempt to destroy an ethnic or several other categories, but in this category, ethnic or national population in whole or in part. And the Trump administration has done two things specifically. Is one, they're deporting people from the United States without due process based upon their race, not based upon what they have done.
Even if that were true, which I don't grant that's true, but even if that were true, that's not genocide. It's simply not.
They will say that they did things, but then they don't go to court to prove it.
Here's the problem, right? For it to be a genocide, there needs to be several different factors, but one of the factors is that, like he said, there needs to be a systematic targeting of one particular group, and it's not a systematic targeting of one particular group. You've got Haitians being deported, Venezuelans being deported, Mexicans being deported. You've got people from El Salvador being deported. So it's not genocidal because it's not about race or ethnicity, because these people have a variety of ethnicities. The only thing that they have in common is that they're all illegal immigrants. And so even if it were, though, one race being targeted, or one ethnic group, rather, it would not be a genocide. It wouldn't be. Even if we were to grant all of his framing, it just simply would not be a genocide.
And then the other thing that they did was, and this is in, again, the Geneva Convention's definition of genocide, they are stealing children, or they were at least back during the first administration, stealing children from their parents, which taking children from one group and transferring them to another group is an act of genocide.
What group are they transferring them to? What are you even talking about? What are you even saying?
So, yeah, the mass political violence is currently coming from the Trump administration, and that is coming from the right because the Trump administration is a far-right institution.
No, it's not. I wish the Trump administration was a far-right institution. Oh, I so wish. No, we can never have good things. No, that's wrong. Sorry.
They don't have the luxury of having to, the leftists don't have the luxury of having the state on their side.
They did for a long time, actually.
Now,
All right,
that
cool.
could
I don't need your life story every time I ask a question, Brenton. So
I
when
mean,
you're talking about that, then they called Obama the deporter in chief. Was Obama?
So this is what he's going to do in his internal critique. He's going to turn the definition on him, and he's going to hold him by his own standards.
Committing a genocide?
I would say quite possibly. Honestly,
okay, so then
yeah.
How's it happening more on the right than the left?
I would say you didn't ask. Okay. The overall question of how it's happening more on the right and the left results to everything, not just exactly what we're talking about. Now, specifically with regard to deportations, you asked what is the right doing in terms of mass violence, and I'm telling you the deportations.
And he's telling you that Obama did more of them. Therefore, because we're talking about what's being weighted, you lose by your own metric. You're talking about whether or not the left or the right's more violent. If we were to grant that deportations are an act of violence, which is absurd and preposterous, but let's just grant it for the sake of the argument. if we were to grant that, and then we were to grant that Obama did more deportations than Trump ever has, which you did not dispute, then your side would be more guilty of perpetuating violence. It's very simple. It's a very simple deductive argument.
Our
And you just said that the
violence
left
in
also does that,
1850.
Brenton. This is not looking good.
I said that the left deports. But again, the left is not trying to eliminate a national or racial group within the United States. At least I would hope. Obama
So they had
wasn't
good
trying to.
intentions. Once again, guys, when the left does it, they have good intentions. When the left does it, they are doing
It's
it
literally
because
in the
they
definition
have
of
good
genocide that you
intentions.
have
When the
to have
right
a level
does
of
it, guys,
intent.
we're evil. When the right does it, we're evil. Different genocide
Who is
motives.
this
Now, Brenton
person that
knows
you
the
are
motives.
so mad about?
Brenton knows the motives, guys. James,
Oh,
seriously, I told you not to get me any prostitutes to debate with. Next time, can you also not get me any comic book people? Because this is honestly embarrassing.
Oh yeah, so there's a whole aspect to this debate that we didn't even talk about till now. So this guy isn't qualified at all to speak on this topic. He's not an expert. Now, I'm not gonna say that immediately disqualifies you from doing the debate. It just means that you should be a little bit more skeptical, you know. Now, I'm always in favor of like evaluating the evidence and making sure that you take it into account, regardless of who presents it. 100%. I'm not going to commit the genetic fallacy here, but just keep in mind that this guy is a comic book writer. He took this debate. That's not really that bad in and of itself. That doesn't disqualify him entirely if he has good data sets. But he doesn't, and so that makes it more embarrassing.
Okay, so first
He was
off,
so
I'm
sure
not
when he
simply
came
a
into the
comic
debate.
book person, and second of all, again, this is just an ad hominem. Can you just have a discussion about literally? I'm in here trying to relate with you, coming in here, being good faith, and all you're trying
You're not
to do
good
is
faith. You can try and act friendly. You can try and act like you're all friendly. Oh, I'm friendly.
Oh,
I'm good
Jesus.
faith. I call
I am
myself the
too
friendly
old
anarchist.
to play
You're
that
not,
game.
dude. You're bad faith. You're trying to contrive a narrative. This is what all of you leftists do, and we're sick of it. We're
Ad
sick of being
hominem, ad
gaslighted.
hominem,
We're sick of the gaslighting.
Unjustified equivocation.
Okay, great argument, bro. Anyways, should we move on?
See, here's the thing, right? You can't just name drop fallacies and not explain them and win. And by the way, even if he is committing fallacies, that doesn't mean he's wrong. That in itself is a fallacy.
All right, hold on. I had to be
Oh,
quiet for a minute, but I'd like
man.
to go over some of the things that were said. So, firstly, when we're talking about the deportation thing, you covered most of it, but the thing is, it's like half the reason why children were being separated from their parents in the first place, because that's the argument, right? Is as they came over, these people would be stopped, children would be separated from parents. Why was that the case? Because a lot of these parents, a lot of these so-called parents, were people that were just taking these kids along, and either they had been paid to go take the kids with them, or they somehow acquired the kids through trafficking or whatever the case may be. A lot of these kids were being trafficked. And so that being the case, like, of course they're being fucking stopped. Of course they were being separated from their quote parents,
Yep.
because
there's
that was the
aspect of it.
protocol. And when we say that Obama was responsible for more deportations, we mean that he was literally responsible for more deportations of people at the border as they
Yep.
came in.
Yep.
And this has just been a thing. It shows how little you actually know about the immigration topic. That is not, you are not going to get access to an argument with that weak of backing
So
and
bad.
justification and links. That is horrible. You don't even understand the nuances of the actual immigration argument.
I mean, the immigration argument didn't even matter that much because he tried to say that deportations are an act of violence. That's just so dumb, dude.
That's
You know what
stupid.
their mindset
Not
is?
only that, he said it was a genocide. That's a
Yeah.
crazy claim to make. And
It's absurd.
It's because
and
of
then
a
he tried to say that It's a destruction of a racial group in the
misappropriation.
United States and an ethnic group. No, it's not. Everybody's getting targeted for deportations. The Venezuelans, the Haitians, the Mexicans, the Salvadorians, the Guatemalans. Everybody
The
is
Fernandos of the world.
indiscriminate.
um,
And then he said that the Trump administration is a far right institute. Bro, I wish.
though that's so stupid.
Oh, I wish.
Dude, people don't even realize this. They don't actually know what far right is, right?
You don't know what far right is.
They don't even know what that is, right? Most people, what they call far right is a very moderate position.
Yep.
Conservatism in and of itself, they call a far right position. It's a very
It's
moderate
not
position.
far
And
right
in
at
matter
all.
of fact, the Trump
Oh.
administration has become more and more moderate as time's gone on, and it's been a very smart political move for them to make, because in 2016 they had the attitude, let's get things done, let's show people that we can actually do things, we can do things that benefit the economy, and we can do things to reverse what however long of constant Democrat rule. Let's see how much we can reverse, let's see how much we can help, let's see what we can do here. And then after that, they toned it down, and they're like, okay, let's see if we can pick up some centrists. Let's see if we can pick up some liberals that saw what happened with COVID. They saw what happened with this, and they're a lot less trusting of the government
And
now.
it
And, they're a lot less-
worked.
and it worked. It was a really good political move.
It won him the election, but as a result, he had to moderate. Like there was one particular thing that I wasn't appreciative of, which is that he moderated on the pro-life position. He basically made it like worthless. And then he's like now going on and saying we're gonna start paying for IVF treatments, or like he's saying we're gonna make it so that IVF treatments are more accessible, and I don't agree with that either. So like he's actually sacrificing his more radical voter base.
Yeah, there is a point where you got to realize where you get your votes from, or is
So-
the only
so
reason why
this argument
conservatives are
that it's
able
a
to
far
win.
right actor is just absurd. It's ridiculous.
One more thing, like
The actual far right doesn't support him that much, by the way. Like
no,
Nick Fuentes, he's not a Trump supporter anymore.
most of those guys see the way he views them, and see the way he, if you know, you know, the way he does this, that, or the
You
other
have to do
thing,
some
or
coded language here, Chad.
he compromises on this, that, or the other thing, and people don't
With
like it.
certain
You also got
groups,
to understand. You
and
also got to
certain causes.
understand. You also got to understand the only reason why conservatives are able to win in America right now because of the way they have the voting shifted. Which, by the way, Democrats have admitted to 20 years ago. They've been admitted to this. That half the reason why they allowed people to flood the country was so that way they could win all elections
Votes.
moving forward, and
Yeah,
they could make it so
it's
that way.
it's a political power
could get-
play. They don't actually care about these people at all.
Yeah. Well, the only reason why conservatives even had a shot at winning was because of their Christian male base. And what I would actually say, where I would critique Trump and his political moves, is that you got to still keep Christianity close, because if that's how you're winning elections, it doesn't matter how many moderates you pick up.
Yeah.
If you are able to appeal to the Christians, you're winning.
Yeah, and Trump did that very well both times.
I would say he's getting a little bit worse at it.
Yeah. Here's the thing,
But-
right? Like, you can't compromise on the pro-life position without sacrificing a whole bunch of things.
And that's who's winning elections for you. We have a majority in Christian males, and that's a big voting population because of the way things are split up population
Dude,
wise.
everything you were saying is
Especially the
literally
voter
like
population.
as much as like 2 + 3 = 17. That is the logic equivalent of what you are doing when you try to argue that I'm doing something evil secretly and that I'm trying to trick.
It's not secret. It's
You're being
not
very
secret at all.
open
You're being
and-
very open about what you're doing
And
right
making
now.
it very clear to people.
your
who
audience.
I don't think you're doing it
understand this
secretly.
kind
I
of
think you're actually pretty brazen about it. And some
Oh
people
my
who might be
God.
footbed by this, but honestly, you said that there was a difference
Again,
between
if
Irina
all else
Zhurutska
fails,
and
call them a
between the
liar.
whites. I know you want to talk over me because you're very scared because you're getting absolutely
Dude,
steamrolled every
I'm
time you open
42,
your
I
mouth.
have ball
I know you're
hairs that are
scared of
older
me.
than
I'm a
you.
Lord Rattlesnake, and I know you're scared of the Lord. But listen to me.
I actually
Brendan.
really like
You said that there was a
rattlesnakes.
difference between Irina Zhurutska and the white supremacist. You got proven wrong there. That was not a good
No,
look,
I
Brendan.
said
You have
they
to
would
say it
be-
wasn't a good look, and then you said
I gotta call Jake on something. The Brenton guy, he used the term white nationalist. Do not equate that with white supremacist. That is not the same thing either.
Yeah.
Do not fall for this ridiculous, stupid framing.
that there was a difference between when Trump deports people and Obama. Brenton, it is not looking good, brother.
There are differences. Well, first of all, I love that the judge and the advocate are the same. The guy who wants to win the debate is the one who's telling me it's not looking good, brother. Like,
Well, it's not.
It's not,
And
objectively speaking.
We're
Dude,
outside parties, and we're
he's
telling
being
you that
nice.
it's not, man.
He's being nice to you. He's allowing you to get away with a lot of things that he shouldn't be getting away, that you shouldn't be letting you get away with. And the reason is because anybody who watches that objectively is going to see how bad you did and how bad you look.
Horrible.
yeah, again, it's like just a bullshit tactic, and you don't have to do it. And you
Literally,
don't have to
I
do it
would
with me because, again,
I
I
would
don't-
literally hold him accountable on every little individual thing. I would cross-examine him
Every point,
out of
every
existence.
Single point.
If
have
he
the time
misspeaks, it's over for him.
or the energy or the freaking spoons to deal with all this culture war bullshit. I am specifically getting down to brass tacks with you, and I'm having a real conversation with you, or at least I am trying to. Now, you can engage or not engage.
You are having a debate. And
All
you're
right, I'm
losing.
happy to actually take
Reality
this to your
check.
home ground if you want. Do you
Okay.
want to argue about fatalities? Because everything else you are limp
I'm
on.
fine
So
arguing about
fatalities.
stuff.
Do you want
fatalities?
to
I think are the
go
most
fatalities?
important.
Okay,
If
fantastic.
you want to talk fatalities, we can talk fatalities.
Did they
Dude, you should be the biggest advocate of moving in that
No,
direction because
you
it's the only
don't.
thing you have.
Yep. You're losing on any point. And if you
include the
aren't
LA
doing
riots
those-
in your studies?
Yes.
And did they include the George Floyd protests? If so,
well,
prove it.
Very specific reason why they wouldn't include the George Floyd protest, by the way.
George Floyd.
Dude, there's actually
I don't know if
cops
they
so
fighting with them
demonstrated.
during
they
that
almost
protest,
definitely would have
and
if
they
there
still
were
stone
murders
those
committed
dudes.
for racial reasons or political reasons during the LA riots. They would have included them in the study.
So you don't know if they included them.
I mean, I know that they specifically excluded the Oklahoma City bombing, so I'm pretty sure that they made sure to do their due diligence. How many people do you think were murdered in the?
So you don't know, is what you're saying.
Dude, yeah, you don't make it
LA
clear to your
riots.
opponent. You're sure they're doing
63.
their due diligence. Well, that's what he's
Now,
putting
was
into
that 63
question.
deaths or 63 murders?
Dead in the LA riots.
Okay, so not murder.
So this is
just
political
dead.
violence happened at the riot.
Okay.
Dead from political violence from the left. Okay,
All right. So first
Brenton,
off,
I'm going to give you a chance to retract that statement if you want to. I'm going
I'm
to give
gonna
you a
point
chance
out-
right now. I'm going to be good faith,
I
and
don't
and
need
you
to
can say,
friggin'
Jake,
retract-
I retract the statement that the right wing is more fatally violent. I'm going to give you that chance right now, Brenton. You have
Yeah,
30
this
seconds
is-
on the clock.
This is the dumbest thing I have had to deal with in like at least a month. Okay, so first off, when you were talking LA
must not have to
riots,
deal with
you
anything
were,
stupid
you were
then.
citing the dead specifically, supposedly 68 dead. I don't know, but I don't know how many of
Misinterpret
those
the
68
number.
were
It said
targeted
63.
for.
You'd say 68.
All right.
Suck.
Oh, dude, you should take the 68 number and be like, oh yeah, thanks. You give me more.
Yeah, thanks for giving me more.
Political reasons. I don't know if someone was trying to pull like propaganda of the deed. I don't know if they freaking fell over or had a heart attack. Just like the right, or I'm sorry, like the Democrats always bring up that one police officer that died after January 6th, like, and he had like a heart attack or something. So he was not a healthy man to begin with, and it was just sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, I would say that death would not be on the MAGA movement, because unless there was intent to actually kill that guy, or they
I
were
love myself a
negligent in how
MAGA
brutally
movement.
they treated him, then it's not actually a political murder, even though it's happening in the Capitol, because
Yo,
murders can happen
Fernando.
for all.
Huh?
The MAGA movement.
MAGA.
I love myself a MAGA movement. That pronunciation
sorts
is
of
so
situations.
dumb.
So stupid.
Situations in all sorts of contexts. So yeah, like I said,
That's like me saying Antifa.
If you want to talk,
I love me an Antifa.
I don't love them.
Well, neither do I. But
murders,
I don't
and if you want to
particularly care
talk
for-
like specifics, you've got to get very specific and find out like who did the killing, why did they do the killing.
Well, you're not
Can
able
we
to get
believe
that
them?
specific.
And how strongly did their
You don't know the specifics.
You don't know your source
And
good
it seems
enough
like your
to say
study
that.
isn't that specific either. So
Or if it is, you are so uninformed about it,
you barely read your own source.
and you don't want to do that. You don't want to be caught doing that, especially on really comprehensive studies. If it's a speech, it's one thing. If it's a debate, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Political ideology inform this action. That's going to tell you, that's going to help you get a feel for exactly like where the violence is coming from, where the most significant violence is coming from.
Okay, now, I think I've been pretty good faith. Let you talk for a little while here, Brenton.
He's
I
been
want you to
kind.
answer
He's been
me.
handing
Dude,
you your own
He's
defeat.
been literally giving you like double the time that he has, and you're still getting
No, not
farmed.
double. Not double. I would argue probably 9 times the time. And you're
This question,
still
okay?
losing.
Why did you say that they included the LA riots when you didn't know that?
Okay.
Why did you lie?
So again, I didn't. You're putting words in my mouth.
Yes, you did. You said way
You
back in the
lied.
beginning.
Hold on, hold on.
people
And
can
we
go watch this
pointed it
back.
out too. We pointed it out too.
Yep.
Said
everyone
multiple
knows,
times
though.
that they must have done their due diligence about the LA riots, included the necessary deaths. He also said that because it was 1990, that you would say they included them. Now you're saying all of a sudden they don't. Did you
He
all
also
of a sudden read your
explicitly
source?
said yes at the very beginning of this.
Yeah.
And second of all, that's the kind of question like, when did you stop beating your wife? It's called begging the question. You're assuming the
How's it
answer is
begging the
true
question?
in the premise.
How's it begging the question? Please explain that to me. Explain how I'm begging the question here when I just ask you a
Yeah,
question.
and the
you
other thing
answered the
is,
question.
like, it may seem obvious what fallacy your opponent is committing. You have to explain the mechanics of how and
Of
why
how
they
that
did
is.
that.
You can't
How that's
just,
the
like,
case,
drop that.
because the
Because
other
he's
thing
not
is,
doing that
even
right now,
if
by the way, he's not.
even if you were correct in your opponent using a fallacy, even if it was obvious, you want to make it clear beyond a shadow of a doubt their argument
Yeah.
should be taken with heavy
Tossed
criticism
out.
based upon a fallacy, depending on how fallacious it actually is.
Question.
Okay, so repeat the question to me and I will point out exactly what you're doing.
Okay, at the start of this debate, I asked you, Brenton, did they include the LA riots in this study that you're talking about? You said yes, they did.
Yep, he did. Now you can go watch that.
I
Okay,
said
I didn't say Brenton.
Mhm.
I didn't try and beg the question and say they did. I'm assuming that you're lying about this.
no, that's
I
not
just
what
said
begging
Brenton
the
did they. I
question
asked
is.
you a good faith question.
So when you frame the question in why did you do this bad thing that you definitely did, which by the way, I don't recall saying that or
Listen, just
Oh, that's
because
really
you are not
convenient.
capable, just
That's
because
so
you are not
convenient.
capable
Oh, I don't
of going
remember,
back,
dude. Oh, I don't remember.
you're not
what I did.
capable of going back that
Ah.
far. Which the most recent time he said he made that concession wasn't actually that long ago.
It was about
Just because
half an
you're not-
hour ago.
Just because you're not capable of thinking that far back doesn't mean it didn't happen.
if I did, I possibly misspoke because that's a thing that can very easily happen.
3
How?
times.
You said
3 times?
yes. You literally said yes. They did include it.
They must have done their due diligence. They
Wait.
So
So if you
everything
did say
from
that,
the
then I would be right.
1990 from 1990 specifically.
So that I'm
Not
not
the
begging the question.
1990s, 1992. You said very specifically.
No, you'd still be begging the question because you're assuming the you're
How?
assuming the answer.
I'm not assuming you lied. I'm not assuming that you lied. I saw
No,
you lied. The whole
okay.
audience saw you lied.
Yeah, okay, dude. Like, first,
Trying to
that's
gaslight me
not a
into
lie.
thinking you said
Second of
something
all,
you didn't say.
I'm
Again,
pretty sure
this
that's
is-
a
Or you
lie.
did
I'm pretty sure
say.
you said something that
Probably.
wasn't true and you knew it wasn't true.
people,
I don't think he knew enough to know it wasn't
I
true,
don't
to be
even
honest.
think he knew that, to be honest.
Dude, a
I'm
lot
not
of
even gonna
these
ascribe
things,
mouth to this guy because I just don't think he knows what the hell he's
right?
doing.
That's the thing is he's attributing he's attributing that to him, that he's doing all this stuff in dive faith. And
I
some of
can
it
see
may
why
be-
he would think that because
well, it's not even necessarily that he thinks that. He probably doesn't think that. He's probably just saying it for the point of the argument, which isn't.
hang on.
Which he's
Pretty
not
sure
wrong
it's
for
a
Just
lie.
said
doing.
that I knew it wasn't true.
I would have
Now,
been
let's
sent to
see.
my room for that
Most
as a
likely,
child.
what I said, or at least what I intended to say,
I would have
was
been
that
sent to
if
bed earlier. I
there
couldn't
were
watch the
racial-
show.
most likely what I said. No, you don't get to do
No,
this
what you
goofy
did say.
gaslight crap. No,
And in fact, I think I tried to say that, and then you cut me off. If there were racially
Well, hold on.
or politically motivated murders
We don't want to be
during
talking
the
about
LA
cutting off
riots,
here.
well, the LA riots happened during the 1990s. This study covers the 1990s to 2000, so obviously that would be included in the study. So
you asserted that it was included by your own admission, and you also said yes.
That's
All right.
painful.
Ow.
if they didn't include it in the study for whatever reason, take that up with them.
You didn't say for whatever reason. You never said that, bro.
Literally,
Stop.
you never said that.
But like at this
You said
point,
it 3 different
that's
times,
not really
3 different
relevant
ways
because they
that
could have
all
included or not
indicate
included
that-
anything. There could be
that they
exceptions. I'm sure
included
there
this
are.
stuff.
So interesting, Brenton. I mean, in that study that you're saying, I think there are only about 78 deaths that are included from
No.
left-wing violence. But with
Yeah.
with the two riots alone, the George Floyd protests and
my
also the LA riots, there's about 90 deaths. So
Outweighed, farmed. It's over.
Oh,
The
that
deaths
hurts.
are not
So
necessarily
your study
politically
is, I
motivated,
mean, Brenton,
even though they take
it wasn't
place
going
in
well for you
political
before when we were looking at the matter of political violence, the broader spectrum of political violence was not going well for you. And I've actually been so kind to you, Brenton. I have
That's what you
literally held your hand and walked you across the road. And now we're on your own
Literally.
turf, which is deaths. And your deaths statistics are also completely astroturfed.
Please explain to me how every single death that happens during a riot is a politically motivated death.
So these riots were done by the left. They were riding in the street. and all of these deaths happened. Now, do you think that they would be including?
He needs to make the argument that it's collateral or something.
Right. You need to make the argument and say, look, this you guys caused this riot. It caused this many amount of people to die. Like, these are politically related deaths, if not directly political or direct results of political violence.
The deaths, if there was deaths at J6 or if there were deaths at Charlottesville, do you think that they would be including them in politically motivated deaths?
It depends upon the specific study, but I would assume that they would.
You
Now-
bet.
Would assume. Hold on, you need to know your source. Like, let's just assume that because it's my study and I appealed to it, that it's that they're doing.
Oh,
it
but
correctly.
notice that he's calling out things that happened. That the right was responsible for J6 and the Charlottesville thing, and he's saying, yeah, my study is so
partially
biased that they
responsible
would
for-
have included it.
Hold on. Partially responsible for J6. They were there.
Well, it's been proven that there were feds over there, but
A lot of
for the
them.
sake of
It's
for the
just
sake of argument,
300, don't worry.
because for the sake of argument, like, let's just grant that they were responsible.
Completely
because-
responsible, because who
Yeah,
cares?
entirely. Because
Let's just say
whatever,
they're
doesn't matter.
responsible
Let's
for
just
any
say-
related death.
let's
There was like
yeah,
2,
so here's
maybe.
the problem, right? He has made a concession implicitly that his study is biased enough that it would count those things, even if like those deaths happened outside of that or had nothing to do specifically with political violence or anything like that. He is admitting that his study is so biased that it would include that as death that the right is responsible for, even if it
The other
wasn't.
thing is, supposedly, if this study does actually say that combined 70 some people that actually died, if the percentages of murder he said something to the extent of it was like a 2% to 11% distinction between politically motivated deaths because the rest were comprised of terrorist groups or something to that extent. He said something to that extent. If
Yeah, I said that
you
later.
had 70 deaths and that was only 2%, what's that? Take that times 5.5 ish. Whatever that number is, that's greater than even if you were to put on those other riot kill
Man,
counts on there
it's
and say that they were
embarrassing.
all responsible. What you would do then is, if that's the case, if that's what your study shows, you would say, but even if I were to count those other riot deaths, all of them, if those numbers are correct, you would say, because he's making the case that there's at least 300 deaths, if not more, 350 to closer to 400 deaths, right? He's saying that. If that's the case, then even if you were to add on the other 90, 100 deaths, even if they were all responsible or all of them were caused directly by the left, you would go and say, look, my study still shows that that I'm outweighing you on murders. You would appeal to that. But you don't get access to it. People aren't going to give you access to it if you're not going to extend your arguments. If you're not capable of doing that, then you are literally you literally just lose access to it. You can't just say something once and expect people to actually take account of it. But he doesn't know enough about his source to bring that up because he realizes he's
You
getting
best believe
farmed.
they would. Thank you, Brenton.
But again, what you're doing is this is a hasty equivocation. Just because someone dies in the vicinity of a riot or even as part of a riot does not mean that they're part of the left. And it does not mean that they were killed for political reasons. That people can have accidents. People can just die for no reason whatsoever.
The problem is you've already undermined your own source's credibility by saying that they would include those types of deaths if they happened.
Right.
You've already
No,
done that.
like
Your
we
source
already
is now
said-
worthless.
Like we already
And-
said, we like from the conservative position, you would extend the collateral, even if
Yeah.
there were accidents involved. Don't tell me that they weren't caused by your guys' shenanigans.
And here's the problem, right? He's already made his source worthless. Jake didn't do that for him.
Yeah,
Brett himself did it.
yeah.
By
Well,
admitting
he's
that
unraveling his entire
If there
position.
were such like collateral accidents or whatever was going on, they would include it and attribute that to the right.
Yep.
He's saying that would happen. He undermines his own sources. He loses.
Yep. But he already undermined his entire idea
again,
of what
as I
the-
pointed
how we
out,
should
that I don't think
like,
that the murder
interpret
of, or
everything in the debate.
sorry, the death of the police officer at the Capitol riots, like on January 6th, who had the heart attack or the heart condition or whatever, like, I don't think that that is necessarily a politically motivated killing. I don't think the J6ers were trying to kill that guy. And I'm not, I didn't see the confrontation, but I'm not sure if whoever happened to be there was behaving particularly negligently or not. I don't know. So again, this is why you have to break this stuff down. This is why you have to, be very specific about what you're talking about, because when you deal in these kinds of vague generalities, you're just appealing to vibes, and that's not a compelling argument. I mean, it may be compelling to some people, but it's not logical, and therefore it's not in good faith.
If that was, first of all, there's many problems with what this guy
He's just
said.
saying words at this point, and,
He's
they,
literally
and
just
if you actually
saying
were
crap,
to,
okay.
if you actually were to actually like
So
think
that's
about
not
that,
what he did. He's not appealing to vibes at all. That's just not what he's doing. First and foremost. Second, it's not logical, therefore it's not in good faith. What are you even
that
saying?
is
How's
the
that even
dumbest
connect-
garbage.
That
I've ever
itself
heard.
is not logical.
Yeah,
Because
literally.
it's a non sequitur, doesn't follow. What? What are you even talking
Literally.
about? So you're
about
saying that
committing fallacies,
anybody who
man.
doesn't reason logically is doing it so out of bad faith. Sorry for all of the people who have mental illnesses and disabilities and intellectual
This
disabilities.
guy is.
You are not in good
intellectually-
faith. You are not.
This guy's intellectually disabled. If everything that he said, because it's not logical,
Oh
if that's
my
the
gosh!
logical
How are
endpoint
those
we're
things
going
connected
to,
in any way?
hold on, but if that's the logical endpoint we're going to, all of his arguments are then every time that he's called him out for doing something in bad faith, all of those are then true and more. All of those things that he called you out for being acting in bad faith are because
So
you're
if
feeding
you're
into
logical,
all
you're
liberal
automatically
garbage.
acting in good faith. That's not necessarily the case. Nor is it the case that if you aren't logical, and this would be more applicable, no, it's not the case that if you're acting illogically and irrationally, you're acting in bad faith. Those are different things.
Yeah.
You're being goofy.
It would appear as though
Goofy.
I'm the only one here that is actually looking into the details of things,
It would
because
appear
you're
as
citing
though
your
you just
your
keep
citing
saying
studies,
that you're
Brenton. There'll be
winning over and
silence while
over
I'm
again,
speaking.
hoping
There'll be
that that's the
silence.
case.
There'll be silence in the court while I'm speaking.
You're not a judge.
Silence
Brenton, there will
in the
be
court
order in the
while I'm
court while I'm speaking.
Damn.
It's Judge Jake from now on, Brenton. Okay, go
There'll be
ahead.
order.
Farm, let's go.
Thanks.
James.
In my court.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
If he wants to go on a power trip, he can go on a power trip.
Brenton, there'll be order while I'm speaking, okay? It appears
Damn.
as though only
Guess
one of us
so.
here is actually being thorough, because I'm simply diving into your numbers here, Brenton. You're trying to tell me about all of these deaths. We're talking about deaths by political violence. Sure. When you talk about deaths by political violence, you are contriving a narrative. And we saw that at the start of the debate. Every single person here saw it. You had a
And you
different
think that
standard. And this is what happens with these studies. Every time people bring up these studies, they have a
Quiet.
different standard for what constitutes left and right
Fernando,
political
we need
violence.
to-
This
we
has
need to
been
put a- put
exposed.
together
I know
a
it
case
hurts.
on
What's
some
up?
topic, and we need to go and put together a case on some topic, some dumb topic. I need to go farm on modern day debate. Come on, if it's
want
this
to?
easy,
Dude, this
if
is
it's this
easy.
easy,
If these guys are the type of people who get put up on modern day debate, like, I'm not trying to overhype myself or to go on an ego trip or anything like that. I don't do stuff like that.
like even Jake's argument, there are problems that you can take with it. There's places that he should have went that he didn't go, but like
Yeah.
Brenton, when
he
it gets
looked
exposed,
stupid good
but
at
it's been
here.
exposed. It was exposed
That's-
not only in your rhetoric,
It
but
doesn't
also in
hurt
these
because
bullshit
that's how
studies
everything-
that
literally
you
everything
are
works.
citing. I know you're sad. That's why you're speaking. You don't want to let me. You don't want to let me speak. I don't want you to be sad. I prefer.
And Des again, this is awesome.
Dude, this is hilarious.
I don't want you
you
to
to
be
be happy,
sad.
okay? But seriously,
I am very happy, my friend.
No, you're
okay,
not.
good. I'm
No.
glad.
This is I love this shit.
I'm glad. I'm genuinely
I
glad that
thought-
you're happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good. But anyways, what was I
I thought
saying
this was-
before?
Cool.
The bullshit you've
You being
ever
the only
seen
one
last
who's been
time.
actually thorough in this
Whatever
debate,
he
because
said.
I'm trying to dive into the numbers that you're giving. I'm giving lots of different examples. We can see it with our eyes everywhere. All of the violence that's going around, particularly around the United States, this is all left-wing violence that's happening at the moment. They're the ones who are burning down the cities. They're the ones who are attacking government facilities.
You
They
will
are the
note that the
ones
cities
who are
have
doing
not
these
been
mass
burnt down.
protests and assaulting conservatives. Conservatives are the ones getting chased off campus. It is absolutely obvious. And in order to try and gaslight people, which is
So here's the problem, right? This is the problem that I have with Jake now is that I hate when people do appeals to the obvious. And he's not wrong here, but here's the problem. Like, the obvious is just such a vague term. It's just something that you do. You're question begging when you do stuff like that, okay? So don't say that. What you should say, like, you need to provide concrete examples, which he's appealing to some stuff vaguely. These things are happening, but he hasn't gone into, like, specifics. Like, he didn't bring up Portland yet, for example. That's a pretty big example that he could cite, but like this vague, obvious crap that needs to stop from anyone. I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's my side doing it. I don't care if it's the opposition side doing it, which usually it is. Especially when you're talking about like
Most of the time, they're wrong in making those arguments too. I mean, if you got nothing or something's better than nothing in every scenario when it comes to
true,
debate, right?
but like this
Putting
appeal
up
to
an
the
argument-
obvious is just a
putting up an
question-begging
argument.
thing. It's really bad. Don't do this. And most of the time, I encounter this when I'm like talking to secularists, and they think that it's just obvious what moral action is. It's just obvious what ethics are. No, stop. You're being dumb. You're question begging.
Like there are certain things that are obviously obvious, but that's not in the sake
You
of an
can't.
argument.
You
it's
can't
not
do
exactly
that in
the
these
same
formal
thing.
debates. You can't say that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like something that we know to be happening and using it as an actual argument. Like if I were to put to question the sky is blue, that's something obvious. Like I shouldn't have to have
That's
evidence
something
for
that
it,
you
but
can
that's
go
the
look
only-
though. I wouldn't say like, it's just obviously blue. You have to actually go and
It's-
look and see.
It's the idea of what's it called? It's knowledge you wouldn't have to look up to know. It's
Sure.
knowledge that is it's common knowledge. So there is a level where you can appeal to common knowledge, but using it as an argument in this manner, that's different.
is what you're trying to do and which all of you people on the left try and do. You say, I'm not on the left. You are, clearly. In order to try and gaslight people, you actually have to provide a compelling data set. And what you've
Look, if
provided
you
so
wanna get
far
to
is
the data
absolutely,
set,
absolutely
grab this
bullshit.
thing, go to page 7.
Cool.
You're gonna, if you pop on
Hold
down
on,
to
he can
page
actually
7,
cite
you're
a
going to
specific
see
spot in his
just
in
above
his
the two big
study?
graphs. You're going to see
No way.
the specifically ideologically motivated extremist homicides in the United States, 1990 to 2020. Now, homicide incidents across total incidents, this breaks it down to far left v far right, it breaks it down to individual murder, it breaks it down to weapon type, it breaks it down to ideological strength, and
It seems like it's more specific
ideological.
than what you actually are able to provide us with.
Then why are you fumbling this hard? If you,
Why? It's super comprehensive, it seems.
So then why are you fumbling? I mean, you already undermined your own source by saying that they're biased enough to include collateral and like incidental deaths as evidence that the right is more violent. So this study, in my opinion, and just objectively, it's worthless now, no matter what it proves, because you've undermined it yourself. You're dumb.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Motivation, and it
He
even
didn't even
does
realize he did it.
who the president was when these killings took place. So generally appealing to some number of people who might have died in the LA riots is not being thorough. It is not even being thorough. It is specifically being general and then telling people that you're being thorough and you're hoping they'll believe you. Now, again, if all else fails, call a man a liar. I don't think that you necessarily are lying when you say you feel these ways and you want to talk about these things. But I do think that it is invalid to say that you are being thorough and I'm trying to hypnotize your audience with my fancy falutin words. Like, again, it's right here, specifically. So we've
First of all, you're not going to be hypnotizing my
Arson
audience.
Bomb
My audience,
3.
they're pretty switched on units, my audience, and they will not be hypnotized.
Switched on units. Dude,
That's
that's awesome.
awesome.
That's such a base quote. Are you guys switched on units?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hold on. I'm going to check the notification share.
The chatters.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking at something real quick. Okay. We're ready.
By you may think that
I
you're
wouldn't
falutin,
care
but you're
if
maybe
I did.
perhaps not as falutin as you think you are, Brenton.
Oh my
To think
God!
that you can
Well,
convince
dude, you're
any
the
of
one.
us.
You're the one who's like talking to me about like spinning a narrative. Like that's all.
You are spinning a narrative, though. I mean, you have to do that in these debates. I mean, that's how it is. Both sides are trying to spin a narrative right now.
Right.
It's not necessarily
It's
the loaded term that you're saying it is.
because
They're all
obviously there's a
trying to spin
reason
narrative.
for there's
Teams
obviously
ever
a
do
reason
about
for
anything. Every
you
single
fighting
thing
for the
that
side of
anybody
fighting for.
says when they're giving you a thing, including you talking about me, trying to trick your audience, your impressionable audience, like that is
No,
you.
He didn't say his audience was impressionable. He said they were switched on units. Okay, he said that they're active and alert
But he's so
and well
eloquent that
aware.
he couldn't figure out what he was trying to say.
Not impressionable
spinning
enough
a
to be
narrative.
falutined
That
by
is
you,
a
my friend.
story that you are telling to explain something that is happening. It's an incorrect story. I don't know why you're telling it. I don't appreciate it because it's a bit annoying. And I put
He's telling it. He's framing you as somebody who's dishonest and trying to spin narratives because you demonstrated that you are dishonest by claiming in the beginning that the LA riots were going to be featured, and then saying, "Oh, I don't know, no, they're not." It's like you were backpedaling on those points, and so yeah, that makes you look dishonest because it contradicts exactly what you said in the
Dude,
very
he
beginning.
said 3 times something along the
Three
lines
times.
of something to the specifics of around.
That is why he's making you look
LA
dishonest. That is the reason why.
put a lot of effort into this and actually prepared. But like, there, if you want
Okay,
to accuse
Brendan, come on.
someone of spinning a story, look in the mirror.
Yeah. Well, why don't you make a comic book about the story?
That would be very boring.
I could be the main character.
I'll tell you what, if you want to be the main character, give to my next Kickstarter. There's a level where you can actually get a cameo in the comic, or you can even become a character, and I'd like build one directly around you. It's pretty cool.
Can we call it Lord Jake Destroys Stupid Anarchist?
No, but I'll tell you what, I could probably find some way to reference that cleverly, that someone who is in the know would get it, but somebody who's reading the comic would not be distracted by irrelevant information in a different universe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, James, I'm going to leave it to you to move the debate on, or do whatever you want to do.
So I'll give this Brenton guy one thing. At least he's like being cool about it's basically his life work getting bashed and shit and crapped all over. Oh.
Do here.
I mean,
There are
we
any
can
topics
stay
that-
here on the ideological strength, the anti-government. You were talking about murders, and you were talking about arson bomb, 3 deaths to the far right. I'm sorry, to the far left, and 0 arson from the far right. Seems that the far right doesn't seem to like to start very many fires. That's good. Blunt or bodily weapon, 0 from the far left, 15.9, 36 on the far right. Firearm, of course.
What do you mean 0.9?
38 on the left, 38 on the left, 126 on the far right. So it seems like that's the main weapon of choice. Not knife, sharp object, 1 on the far left, and 48 on the far right. And then I guess other would be however else somebody got killed.
Interesting. So this is over a period of 35 years, hey?
30 years. Again, 1990 to 2020. If you want the last 5 years, you look at the Cato
okay.
Institute.
Well, interesting because, like we said before, the LA riots had nearly as many deaths as they've got recorded here. They've got 78 deaths recorded here, my friend.
But you don't know if literally any of them are for
We don't know if it's
political
the left-wing
reasons.
riot. We don't know if that was
Dude,
that might have just been they might have
ever
tripped.
been around a
They might
riot?
have
Have you
tripped
ever been
over.
around like a
Yeah,
big
true.
protest?
Yes, I
I
have.
Okay, great. Where?
And I've been around some all around. I was just around a few in Argentina, and I was around
Mhm.
one in Germany recently.
What were they for?
Climate change and for butt sex, gay butt sex. You know.
Gay butts.
This guy's hilarious, bro. I might go follow this guy.
That's awful.
So you went to gay pride
Climate
parade. You're
change.
calling that a riot?
No. I went to a climate change protest where they were protesting also for gay butt sex.
Of course, they
That's
always do
awful.
that. It always intersects, dude, all the time. Oh my god.
What's the argument they used? Is there less methane release, like after the fact, or is it just
For gay butt sex.
Yeah, you know how they have
really have, like, a gay butt
immigration
sex
and they're like,
sign?
we
'Cause
want
that's
we
kinda
want
hilarious.
gay butt sex. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Honestly, people at protests. So I was very active with Occupy Wall Street for most of the time that it was the thing. I was in protest after protest after protest. I went to the DNC and was also in DC, and then of course on the ground in New York. What I will tell you is that within protests you have a large mix of people. You have people like college liberals who want to come out and kumbaya with everybody. You've got like pissed off traveler kids who will identify usually with an anarchist or like a Marx-Leninist kind of thing. Then you've got like just straight up crazy people. Then you've got probably usually like a large not large, I would say a small contingent of infiltrators who are specifically there trying to start shit. And then, of course, you will also get the people that are trying to be like the leaders of the movement. The point is that these situations are chaotic. And while the protest itself is political in nature, not everything that happens at the protest happens for political reasons. Does that make sense?
Yep. So I mean, there probably wasn't even one, hey, that was done
There
for
probably
political
wasn't even
reasons.
one what?
Death at that riot.
So
we should discount the whole thing because we'd have to really get into the matter and we'd have to see the motives and we'd have to see
I
why
am
they
not
did it,
saying-
who they
we
are.
don't
We'd
have
have to
to-
see if they were
no, we don't have to
hungry
discount
or if
it.
they were
We can look into
thirsty, if they needed some water. That's why they
Okay.
were hangry. Maybe they were a bit hangry.
This is appeal to
Aw.
ridicule. Again, this is illogical.
It deserves ridicule,
what-
my friend.
That does look, the point is something can be silly and right. Someone can be bad and right. what matters is what they have said, the argument they have made, not the characterization of it. What's happening is that you're exploiting what's called the halo fallacy. People tend to attribute one part naturally to the part of everything. So, of course, one part of the LA riots, is this political thing. It's a large part. But then you're going and you're taking that and you're naturally attributing that to everyone and everything within the riot, which that's not accurate.
How
So
far
that's
away
what
is the
that's
debate?
not called the fallacy, the halo fallacy or whatever. That's called the fallacy of composition. And you did it yourself. You admit that your study could possibly do that. Why? Because you've admitted that if the study took into account deaths at Charlottesville or wherever else that the right got blamed for, that they would include them as politically motivated deaths. So your source, again, it's worthless. You made your source completely worthless.
How far are we in? I'm kind of surprised they haven't moved to Q&A
We are 55 minutes in
out of like 130.
out of 156. They should have probably moved by now to Q&A.
Yeah, they
It's
didn't
not
take
the
too long in
reality.
those.
And now, if you want to say that the left in the LA riots engaged in property destruction, yeah, absolutely. I don't see why that wouldn't have happened.
Which counts as political violence, by the way, going back to the original definition thing. He just allowed that whole thing to slide, and I wouldn't.
He allows a lot of things
Occupy
to
Wall Street
slide,
to a
so
certain
he's too
extent
busy talking
engaged
to
in
really think.
property destruction. Leftists, like as we mentioned, some of their, whether you're on the far right or the far left, you will pick the specific crimes you're going to do. Right winger may come in with a gun. Left winger may decide to, I don't know. Nobody's really Molotoving anything, but maybe there were 3 arson on there. So, 3 arson in 30 years, still arson, and it doesn't seem like the right did any arson. So, these are different.
Oh, but the left loves to firebomb stuff. Go ask Elon Musk and whether or not his Teslas are surviving those.
Well, that's
They
not in
love
that
to
study, though.
firebomb stuff, man.
Hold on, that's not even in that study, though.
It's not, but he's saying.
That's so sad.
Oh,
They're
if
saying
it
that
was,
they
it'd be over, bro. If it was,
he's just saying that
People
they're
with
lame
different
and they don't
tendencies
bring
is my point.
guns.
Okay. Well, look,
no, because they bring bombs, man. That's worse.
here's what I'll say.
Yeah, but
in
guns are
conclusion for
cool.
this
Come
point.
on.
They haven't included the LA riots. This is just one thing that they haven't included. If they haven't included that and any of the deaths that were involved in the LA riots, you can just imagine
check
how many
their
other things they also haven't included in there.
Oh my
So,
God. That's a
basically, what I'm
composition
saying
fallacy.
is that this entire data.
No, it's not.
Please die.
That isn't a composition fallacy. What Jake just said.
Can you actually also
That's so
articulate what the
cute.
fallacy is so that way
So
people
it's
who are of
just-
higher
you can't
intelligence
take it
can
seriously.
understand
That's
how
not
to
how
be that
anything
dumb, can
works, my
understand
friend.
what the
That
hell
is
you're
not
trying to
how
say?
logic works. Again,
Please
let's
explain to
say-
me. I can't wait to hear
Let's say for
You don't know how logic works.
Tell me about how logic works.
I mean,
And the light
okay.
nuts.
So as I said, that's a composition fallacy.
What are the
So
3 laws of logic?
The 3 laws of logic.
What are the 3 laws
It's-
of logic?
You don't even know that? Oh, you're such a dude. You have no business lecturing anybody about how logic works. You don't even know the 3 laws of logic. Come on, bro. That's a basic, bro. What?
Poor guy.
I don't know. What do you want? What do you want me to say?
Okay. No, I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, no.
Anyways,
because
carry on, my
the 3
friend.
laws of
Tell me
logic
how
are not
logic works. I can't wait to hear it, please.
The 3 laws of logic are not how logical,
Okay.
rhetoric works.
Sure.
Oh.
I hate my existence. Why do I have
This
to listen
is
to this?
just so pitiful.
I thought Silver did bad.
Oh, he
No,
did.
Yeah, but he was working with nothing. This guy had sources.
3 laws of logic, and you say they don't apply to rhetoric? Yes, they do.
Oh, die. That hurts.
You
I feel the pain in my
Now, please
chest.
tell me how logic
So
works.
if you want, say what?
Tell me how logic works. I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. So in the case of the study, for instance, let's say that the people who made the study are evil SJWs, and they want to trick your audience and bamboozle them with all their words. But the data they put in there is still accurate and true. Does it matter that they're trying to bamboozle your audience? No, it doesn't, because what matters is the actual facts that are being reported on in the study.
See, you'd have a point if you didn't undermine your own source already.
Yeah.
You'd have a point. I can't give you this because you already cooked your own source earlier.
Now, if they did something wrong, you know, if there are big issues with the methodology, you will find that out in peer review. There's an entire freaking institutional system to make sure the shit that you're accusing them of doesn't happen. But like, the thing is
doesn't. Oh yeah, but here we go. Here's where you're committing a fallacy yourself. You're basically saying that because that system's in place, therefore that didn't happen with this study. It doesn't follow. Sorry.
The other thing is like those things don't even. Those systems don't even work very well.
It's like, even if you are right, it does
even
not
in a scientific
mean
context
that they are wrong.
But his claim is that the study is biased and problematic in its methodology. So how does this critique apply to him? He's not saying, "Oh, look who made it. We can't trust it based on who made it." He blundered and said that earlier, but that's not what he's saying now.
Yeah.
Now he adjusted to call into question the actual methodology of the study and the data and everything, and he's saying that there are gaping holes in the data and things should have been included that were deliberately excluded and stuff. That is calling the methodology into question. That is not the fallacy that you're accusing him of, which you couldn't even name right.
Well, I mean, he's naming a lot of things.
Okay, I accept your closing statements.
He also must have looked up
topic,
things
are we
about
done?
fallacies because he's mislabeling
I think we've beaten that dead horse enough.
fallacies that aren't widely accepted.
I do want to get to this. There
are
are these recent polls done. I think that this is one that is a bit more interesting.
Misinterpreting which
He's-
is which.
Oh, he's about to get massacred on polls, bro. It's about to be over.
Is it ever justified for citizens to resort to violence in order to achieve political goals? And I can't really share it with you, but basically younger liberals are far more likely. I mean, like double as likely, triple as
Is war
likely.
ever justified?
Sorry?
Is war ever justified?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, that's violence to achieve a political goal. Very,
But we're talking about
war is politics by other means. So if a leftist is saying yes, it's okay to use violence to achieve political goals, and a right winger says yes, it's okay to go to war, that's the same statement. It's just wearing a different suit.
So here's the problem,
Oh
right?
my gosh, this guy.
Here's the problem with what you're saying right now. Those two things are you're not going to be able to equate them the way that you're trying to equate them right now. Sorry, because
A lot of people do this, by the way, and say that
Because, yes, we
war
believe-
is akin to
We-
murder.
we believe in just war. Okay, I at least will say that I believe in just war doctrine. But that's not that's not what's being inquired about right now to these people. What's being inquired in these polls in particular is it justified to use violence against our current state, our current regime, to sort of accomplish the political goal of like debilitating them, destabilizing them, eventually trying to oust them from power and with violent means. That is not the same thing as war. So if you pulled the right on this, they're probably going to say in most circumstances no. But if you pull the left on this, is his point, they're going to say yes, especially in our current climate, they're going to say yes. That's his claim. I don't know why you're doing this equivalent to the war. It's silly.
Yeah, but I think that
lot
that
of
we all
people do
know
that,
what people
though.
mean when they're saying political violence. We're not talking about war when we're talking about political violence, because that's institutional, right? We're talking about non-governmental actors, right? Even within the government, political violence does exist, but
Oh, I'm actually really glad he made that distinction because the war is fought by governments.
Yeah.
not committed by individuals trying to achieve their own political goals. That's the meaningful distinction here.
Talking about non-governmental actors, I think that we can be good faith and say that, because
I
if
would
we're
say
talking
that
about war, then it
all-
would be a lot more
all
than 10% of
actions
people.
by the state are always political. There is no action that the state can take that is not political.
You're not talking about the state or what it does. You're being asked the question, is it fair to say that political violence is committed by individuals?
I don't even
And
know where
that's
he
what we're
got that
talking
from.
about when
I
we
didn't know
define
why he
political
went there.
violence. And why are you talking about what the state does? Why is this what you're doing? What is this?
I don't, dude.
Whether
This is so
it's good
stupid.
or
I
bad.
don't even.
In
I'm
order to
not
be good
capable
faith
of
in this debate, we
comprehending
have to
this.
be talking about non-state actors.
I don't see much of a difference between non-state actors and state.
And even if we're not,
I just can't with this dumb
No,
nonsense.
no. Where's Q&A? Please, James, cut this shit off.
I don't see a meaningful difference between state actors
Fernando,
and
what the
non-state
hell?
actors.
Fernando,
What is this?
Fernando,
Bro, I'm having an aneurysm. What? the-
Fernando,
I'm
Fernand,
gonna cry. Okay.
Fernand.
What do you want? What do you want from me?
Please
I'm depressed.
tell me. Oh, I am too.
I'm depressed. Okay.
I
I'm
am too.
depressed right
Listen.
now.
Listen, listen. I know. I
I
feel
thought
your
it couldn't
pain.
get any worse. I thought it couldn't get any worse.
But
it does.
When does James say, "All right,
I don't know.
I'm done listening to this bullshit"?
Let's see.
talking about non-state actors, I can talk all day about how Democrats are encouraging of political violence and how they give a wink and a nod to all these people and all of the different DAs around America who, like, you can talk about that all day, but I'm generally speaking here, I'm talking about the broader left and the broader right and how they view domestic political violence. Because if we're talking about war, if we think war is political violence, then sure.
War is
then the
political
left and right
violence.
are both guilty of war,
There's-
okay?
That can't possibly be in question. Like,
What?
war is literally political violence.
It is,
Plausible,
yeah.
It's violence, but it's politics carried on by other means. Hence,
But that
like-
that completely muddies the water if we're going to say is war political violence, because we know that.
Because again, if you're talking about people that support,
Now you want to do like a historical debate. Now you're moving in that direction when that wasn't the topic and that wasn't what you were doing, even though you could have done it,
This
but you
is
chose not to
painful.
approach it that way.
This is painful. I don't even want to listen anymore. Dude, I would rather listen to a
Oh my
debate
God.
on the
I
theory
would-
of relativity
I
than this
would rather
garbage.
listen to like the most boring,
Any-
nonsensical
the most-
garbage.
The
What
most
is
high
this?
level academic conversation over this. This hurts my brain more.
political violence, both the right and the left do. They just support it through different things. So if you're talking about like the freaking Democrats, who, by the way, I like categorically hate, and
And why are you
honestly,
I don't know, man.
Why
You're
are you
arguing
doing
like
all
them, and
this
you're
work?
arguing their position for them.
why do
so
you
why?
embarrass yourself for them?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be smart enough to understand that this only furthers their agenda, right? If you're defending them, you are furthering their cause by definition.
If you wanted a debate just so that we could trash on conservatives, why didn't you take the debate case of the conservatives are politically violent?
the second I saw
You
that
could
like
do some
Bill Clinton
Destiny
had the
style
worst
debating.
murders like during his term from both sides, like I was just like, oh yeah, right, super predators. You know, the liberals, they're the ones who are perfectly all right with police going in and brutalizing people. They have been since the 1990s, and that specific crime bill, which is probably what drove a large number of those murders. So they're good with channeling their violence, the state violence, against people they consider their enemies. In that case, it was black people in the ghetto. Now, then you've got the Republicans, let's say the neocons. The neocons love
Ew.
to channel political violence
This is
towards
painful.
other
Please
countries,
stop.
famously Iraq, Afghanistan, and engage.
Okay, no one likes the neocons.
No one likes those
We're
guys.
trying to throw them out of the coalition right now as we speak.
We don't
We
like them.
hate
That's past.
them.
That's a past
What
position. F off.
the-
Go away.
If you think the neocons are an actual like force, especially on the far right, you're an idiot.
You so.
You are an idiot.
You
don't understand.
stupid.
You stupid.
You stupid. You're not
Agent nation building
going.
because they see that as for the greater good. Then you
Yeah,
have
they're
like,
hardly conservatives though, the
Uh,
neocons. But I see what you mean. I see what you
Yeah.
Yeah, found a way to do it.
I mean, I'm not going to argue the semantics of it. They are Trotskyites, a lot of them. But anyways,
wait,
yeah.
they're trots?
So some of them came from an old Trotskyite. If you look at some of the most prominent neocons in the early 2000s, they came from like a Trotskyite background. But anyways,
Based.
That's
and they're hardly
That's hilarious,
conservative. They're
and I'm
like,
gonna
they,
look
they
into
have a direct conflict with the paleoconservatives of the earlier 20th century. But
Paleocons are better. Patrick Buchanan is better. Hey, Moggsy, all F off.
anyways,
no that okay, yeah. Trots are absolutely ridiculous. So that I'm gonna look into that. That sounds really fun.
Good.
All right. So
just
you know-
quickly, there's also another one though, because just because like we're looking at data here. So there was a poll done for the justification of the murder of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Left of center, 50% of people said that
Mhm.
that was okay.
Who did the poll?
And the percent it says said partially justified or more.
Mhm.
And then there's another one on the right here. And I think that they're two slightly different data sets, but
Can you
it's
send
similar
that
sort of
to me?
numbers. Left of center, about 56% said that it was justified to
Yeah,
the murder
can
of
you-
Elon
can
Musk
you,
and
can you
Donald
give me
Trump.
the poll?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, he needs to actually cite his poll. He can't do the same vague crap that this Brunson guy did.
Put it in the
And
chat
was this Pew Research? Was this Fox News? What was the
Networkcontagion.us / you'll see it here.
Okay.
NCRI. something like that.
NCRI? Okay, I don't think I'm familiar with that thing, but let's take a look.
All right. How do I send something in
Of
the
course, you're
chat
not
here?
debate
familiar with it.
people.
You're not familiar with anything that.
I
how
think
poor
people like
defeats
looking
your case.
at the data.
Mm.
So percentage.
Bunch of
We can read to
nerds in your
Yeah, I
audience. Okay. So Rutgers University Social Perception Lab, Network Contagion Research Institute. All right, let's take a look here. And they polled reporters found widespread justification for lethal violence. That's what's it called? Disquieting. Spillover effect into the domains. Okay, murder justification. So here we go. Okay, survey. Who are they surveying and where?
So percentage of respondents overall and those self-identifying as left and right who find murder, selecting scores from 2 or 7 of the scales, murdering Trump, sources 1. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
All right.
So, because what I'm looking for is one, how many people that they surveyed, and because sometimes with very, very small surveys, you can just through sheer chance you can oversample something. So correlation acceptable to this is interesting. Correlation matrix. Oh shit. Left wing authority. You got some tankies on this one. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, which is expected. But I don't know. I think it's like a cross sample. I'm not 100% sure the entire sample of people or like
Yeah.
what the exact demographics are, if that's what you're
Okay.
looking at, or how many people.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not familiar with this organization. I'm not familiar with their things. If you're, let's for the purposes of the discussion, let's just assume this is correct because, Rutgers University is an actual accredited university. I don't know if they're actually involved in this, but we'll just assume they are. One of the things that I find very frustrating about that shit is that so there's a reason
I'm
why,
about to get a Yap
in my
Fest
opinion,
chat.
this is me actually spinning a story in the sense that I'm giving you a reason for why the left within the last 30 years or so, 30 to 50 years, has moved away from murders and towards property destruction. And the reason why is that at the beginning of the 19th century, there was a thing that was called.
Hold on. I can give you a reason.
Yap
I can
fest.
give you a really good reason.
Total
Hold
yap
on.
fest.
Hold on.
So,
Hold on. I can give you a reason why they don't do it anymore. Maybe it's because they realize guns are actually real and people have them regardless if you don't like that they have them or not. And if you were to pull up and start doing things too much worse than destroying property, then you're causing more shit than you would have initially caused. And more people are buying guns, so and you guys have less of them.
So that's going to Total Yap Fest has nothing to do with anything that he's talking about except to further Jake's point, because this is political violence, by the way.
Propaganda of the deed. And this were theorists coming from certain political thinkers, some associated with the anarchist movement. And their idea was that if you could find these, in their view, bad people and kill them up in front of everybody, people would be inspired to rise up and throw out their oppressors. The thing is that they tried this for nearly 30 years. It just devolved into like a cycle of violence and revenge. And even the person who was being targeted was a person who, if anyone deserves to die, they deserve to die. I would give you Henry Clay Frick. That's very famous in the United States. Alexander Berkman tried to assassinate him. And, Frick was responsible for something like a little over 2,000 deaths that he specifically did because he built a dam wrong on purpose to save money. And so he drowned over 2,000 people. And, he was also caused a lot of the problems with regard to the workers' movement. So you've got Alexander Berkman, who says, okay, all I got to do is shoot this guy and we'll throw, everybody hates him and, the revolution will happen or we'll move forward. Some good outcome will come from it. Well, the fact is it didn't. It had the complete opposite effect. So
yeah, because it never does, dude. It never happens. They never get the revolution other than taking power for themselves, because none of the actual normal people who live in society want to do their dumb socialist BS garbage. And so that is the reason why they never get the revolutions, and they have to force it into power by infiltrating institutions.
Aww.
That is the reason why.
But it's
Because
so cute to watch them try.
normal people actually want stupid socialism.
Wait, what? You don't
targeted
hold on. You don't want
political
to have equally
assassinations.
nothing
No.
with me? But Fernan, we could have the equal amount, and we can be on a level playing field that
I fall for that.
is covered in long grass that we can't move in.
Is something that within leftist history, they have known for almost a century now that it doesn't work.
So what you're telling us is they went from committing one type of political violence to committing another type of political violence out of tactical necessity. That's what you just said. Thank you for telling us that. Proves his point, though.
I think that may be part of why you don't see quite so many murders and people have switched to property destruction. I think this also does go back into left-wing psychology, but that, I've been talking long enough and I don't want to jump down like a giant rabbit hole unless, that's where you want the conversation to go. But yeah, so I do think that's probably, you would not be wrong to think that like the left is probably overestimated in property destruction types of crimes. And hell, we saw they were overestimated in arson. But the problem is the right hasn't learned that lesson yet. And that I think is probably what is driving more murders rather than fewer.
So why do you think that was the result? Like, for example, that actually correlates though. Like that's actually not out of the ordinary from what we've seen recently. That doesn't sort of surprise me that over 50% of people who consider themselves left can somewhat justify the murder of Donald Trump or can somewhat justify the murder of Elon Musk.
I'll tell you why they do it, because they're freaking crazy. They think that they're far right, and they're not. That's
yeah,
the reason
super.
why. Go on Blue Sky, dude. You don't need to be a freaking hardcore researcher to understand this. If you go on Blue Sky and look at the post there, every single post is them talking about how fascist the government is. And when you use loaded terms like that, you end up creating a situation where people are like, oh well, fascists are bad, Nazis are bad. We should kill them because any response to fascists and Nazis is justified, right? That's I can tell you why that happens, and I'm not a researcher by any means, but it's just simply it's simply logic.
And it
Come on.
extends to way more than just that. Like that's
Must,
just one
because
example.
what we
of
saw
them
after
doing
Charlie
that.
Kirk's killing was waves and waves and waves of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are actually celebrating it and who
Yep.
are making excuses for Charlie Kirk's death and for that sort of political violence. So all of this is in accordance. We're seeing all of the violence. We're seeing all of the reaction to the violence. And then we're seeing the polls that actually confirm what we think about how the left views political violence.
I mean, again, I highly doubt it was hundreds of thousands. There were definitely some people on social media who were doing it.
No, dude, there was hundreds of thousands. You know, you realize there were people that were part of the U.S. military saying that stuff. They had to get like discharged for that. There were people in high-ranking positions of authority that were doing that. There were people who had large audiences who were doing that. There were like people in the medical industry and the psychological industry doing that stuff. They were crazy. Like, I'm sorry, you just don't get to make this argument.
Very prominently, and media on both sides were keen to grab that because that's, again, red meat to their followers. Our media system is based on profit. What makes profit is how much they can monopolize our attention to keep our eyeballs on their things so that they can sell ads to freaking shoe companies or something.
Yeah, fast.
But
yeah.
as a result of that, it can create a false perspective that extremely negative or crazy shit is happening when it's really just the media honing in on something.
You've just explained why it is that these people feel justified in these beliefs.
You keep doing this though. It's not
That's my
something like
point.
exclusive.
Now, that said, I noticed that on my own wall, and I spoke out against it. I put out a video while I was driving to my last con. And again, like, I think this is a case of homo homini lupus, as much as it is political. People on either side are often going to try and celebrate the deaths of someone that they personally view as an enemy.
Can you give us an example of when we did that, though? When did we do that?
Like a large scale, especially.
Especially at the scale that was
That what we were seeing,
what we
right?
saw with the Kirk assassination. When did we do this?
Dude, and before anybody says that people shouldn't lose their jobs over stuff like that, over comments.
Oh no, they
like that,
should. No,
well, regardless of what your position is on that, it wasn't like we came up with that strategy.
Yeah, that
If
wasn't.
anyone,
that's not our
that's
tactics.
we didn't come
We
up with that.
implemented it.
We took it. We literally stole it from those guys.
Now you can say, "Oh, that's hypocritical," but here's the problem, right? I don't know. Maybe that applies to some people who did it, but it doesn't apply to me because I've never been one of those free speech absolutists. Sorry.
Yeah.
With regard to Trump, I think that the bigger problem may be that might have driven it to be larger than it was, is that Trump is essentially the closest thing to a dictator the United States has had.
This is the reason why people do this.
Thanks for proving our points more and more and more. every
This
single
is the
time that you
reason
overspeak
why the violence
expectations.
happens. Because you say stuff like that. Donald Trump is not a dictator. He's simply not, okay? That's stupid. That's dumb. That's like almost as stupid as calling him a fascist and a Nazi. Almost.
Almost.
And that the Supreme Court has made him officially above the law. So
So
Please
dumb.
die and kill yourself.
Bro, stop.
And take me with. Because that shit was the most
Stop.
retarded thing I've ever heard.
Stop with that. What are you even talking about? The presidential immunity thing? That wasn't, you realize that wasn't just for him, right? That was for all presidents, including Obama, who the current administration would love to prosecute, except that they can't because of that.
Wait, but what about him ordering a couple thousand guillotines though during his administration? Hold on, Fernand. Did you hear about that?
No.
He ordered a couple thousand guillotines during his administration. I don't remember from who.
When the people at the top don't have to obey the law, the people at the bottom say, "Why the hell am I doing this?"
Okay, so let me just break this down for you, okay? Because you're very uneducated on this matter. So, the Supreme Court basically is going to be dictating the law, correct? That's what they do. Can we all agree with that? The Supreme Court, their job is to uphold the law and uphold the Constitution. The
But
Supreme
we
Court,
don't like it.
the
Unless
Supreme
if
Court,
it's unless
has
the ruling
been
is
siding.
our way.
The Supreme Court has been siding with the Trump administration in basically every single case, and in the cases that he hasn't gotten the win, he's obeyed their ruling.
But he's a dictator though.
How is he a dictator and how
But
is
he's-
he
but
above
he's
the
a-
law?
But he is a dictator though.
And
we
how
gotta
has the
maintain
Supreme
that
Court
argument.
granted him the status of being above the law? They didn't grant it to him. They granted that. First,
It's always-
I wouldn't
it's
even
always
say that's
really
above
funny.
the law.
Hold on, it's really funny though because like these guys
This
want to
is
make
so
an argument that he's
silly.
above the law, but like
Here's the
he literally
problem,
let
right?
himself go to trial and he could have
It's not even just
pardoned
that.
himself.
He didn't do
That shit was
that.
hilarious.
Now, what I want is if we have like a Trump ally who wins in 2028, I want that guy to do it because everyone knows that trial was absurd and ridiculous. And if you're a brainwashed normie who thinks that it was like not a total miscarriage of justice, then I'm sorry that that you're just simply wrong on this matter. You probably think
On
that
this matter.
you probably think that the law can never be weaponized against people or something. And if that's
And
the case,
historically,
then
and
you're very,
historically
very
has
naive.
never, and has historically has never
Historically,
happened.
that just doesn't happen because
Never
those
happened.
institutions are above such stuff. That's a whole other matter. But oh my gosh, what is this buffoonery nonsense?
Why am I the one that is taking care of this? And that leads to, social dysfunction, class warfare, whatever you want to call it. Now I'm not.
Yeah, I think
doesn't
that's just
excuse it.
making excuses though. You have to see why
It's,
that rhetoric looks like it's making excuses.
Excuse it. It's just a reason,
Well, it's a reason why we're seeing more political violence on the left. I agree.
Okay. And I think that
All right,
there
well,
is a
look,
fundamental breakdown in that, which
I like where it's gone. I think we've become fast friends. I'm happy to go into closing statements, James, if you'd like to.
I'm good too. You're pretty cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, he just considered the whole debate with this again.
Hold on. What do you mean? He just
Again.
did that. What do you mean he
Again.
just did that? Hold on though. What do you mean he
No,
just
he did it.
that?
He did it
like
at this
4
moment in
fucking
time again.
times.
That's what I mean by just. He just did that at this moment. He did it again.
Yeah.
So I'm glad this is a good place for us to end because I don't think these closing statements are gonna be worth very much, to be honest.
Dude, he should have been way more brutal with him.
Oh,
Dude, I would have flayed his ass
Oh.
alive if you decided to come here with that little knowledge and try and talk
See,
at
what
me.
I would have said, I would have closed it by being like, look, you saying Trump is a dictator is enabling this stuff.
Yeah.
You saying that you are responsible for this. It's not just like people believe. No, you, with your rhetoric, are contributing to this. Because
But
it's
he's not
true.
a part of, but hold on, he's not a part of the left though. He says he's not.
He is
Therefore he's not.
fully part of the left. He is espousing positions that are part of the left.
But
He
he's like
is,
a centrist or a moderate or some shit.
he says, bro. It's what they all say. But
But
Look, it's not about self-perception. We don't accept self-perception as gospel here. We accept the gospel, not whatever the hell that is.
exactly, that's
So,
so base. That's
man.
awesome.
So we don't care about what you perceive yourself to be. We don't care if you call yourself the quote sensible center. You're neither sensible nor on the center. You are a leftist. You are. And
They
I
call me the
understand
radical and extremist.
a lot of people don't like it when you try to classify them into positions that they themselves don't classify themselves to. And I understand why. People do that to me all the time. People straw man and stuff like that. So I understand that. I would extend some charity in that. With that said though, like this guy is a leftist with the stuff he's been saying. With
Right.
it's not even just with the stuff he's been saying that leftists would also say. It's the fact that like he's espoused this mentality that those who commit crimes actually are victims. That is a left wing position.
But
That is exclusively left
but
wing.
society failed them.
That is a left wing talking point, literally.
But society failed.
I can almost guarantee you, based on this, that if you were to quiz him on like, okay, what do you think on this particular issue, he's gonna end up on the left.
Yeah, but like, where's the distinction?
And that's
between him and
okay.
the
He
left?
can say I'm
Hold on,
left
hold on.
leaning, but he's trying to disassociate himself.
Yeah, but like, where is the distinction between him and the everyday leftist? That's a
Right. What is the distinction? It's gonna be like some minute point that doesn't really matter.
Like,
I guarantee it.
Oh, I don't agree on being called a leftist.
Well, you can say that, but
Yeah.
like, you can use that as a shield so that way they don't like group you in with them, but you're still in with them no matter what. I'm sorry.
But
Like
he says he's
I
not,
don't
though.
want to be the person that like groups you into two
but he
positions.
says he's not, so therefore he's not.
Yeah, like, cause look, I'm kind of sympathetic to this. Like, I don't want to be lumped into categories that I'm not. Understandably so, on his position as well. But like, you are part of that.
Understandably so.
Like, who wants to be lumped into categories that they're not in? No one, because that's a misrepresentation and it's a lie. But you are a leftist.
Oh, poor bot. I thought he was cuter with his weird centrist left-leaning garbage.
Oh man, look, he can call himself a moderate leftist if such a thing exists anymore. But
At this point, because of the way because of the way they keep progressing and being more and more and more and more liberal, the people who call themselves moderate leftists,
pretty radical.
they're centrists
Very
because
radical individuals.
they're becoming centrists, if not conservatives, because they haven't changed with the times of their party.
Yeah. All right. Well, since these guys said that they were going to be going to closing, I don't think we need to continue. It's pretty obvious who won here. Pretty obvious. Very
On
cool.
rhetoric, arguments,
On rhetoric, on logic, on methodology, on everything. Yeah, it's pretty clear who won, and we tried to be as objective as possible. And I
but
would
my
say we
brain
were.
hurts now because I'm trying to understand lower levels of cognition and it's not working.
It's not working.
It's not
This
computing.
guy. Look,
I just
This
don't
guy-
understand how.
sounds like a decent enough person. I'm not going to comment on what kind of person he is. But his
Annoying.
arguments are just garbage. You're terrible at debate. Don't debate anymore. This guy said in his opening statement, we didn't play this, but he said in his opening statement that he was going to debate Charlie Kirk, bro. He would have washed you.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not
poor
even
guy.
the biggest Charlie Kirk fan, but like he would have crushed you.
Dude, I didn't listen to Charlie Kirk and I feel kind of bad.
He would
'Cause I
have
never really-
crushed you.
I have people telling me that I should look into him, but it's like Charlie Kirk was kind of like
He's kind of like a mainstream kind of
right.
normie
That was my
conservative.
thing. Is like
That's not us. Like
we don't agree with
We're
certain
not-
things, or at least we're not. We don't think the
like
same
he's
way
part of
about
that like
things.
pro-Israel faction of the right that I hope we can toss out
Ew.
soon. Like-
Ew. Damn.
Like he's like
Why would you support
without disrespecting
them?
the dead in any way. Like he was kind of a normie center right type of guy. That's just kind of what he was, right? And that's why like if they call him a radical and they justify his death, like just imagine what they do for us, who are a lot more radical than
No,
Charlie Kirk.
they don't understand our positions, because if they actually understood what our positions entailed in full, they would be like, oh,
Like they call Charlie Kirk an extremist. I'm a lot more on the right, further to the right than Charlie Kirk ever was. Because I'm an integralist, and he would have never been one of those. So
aw,
like,
poor little bot guy.
so yeah, he would have crushed you though.
He would have
He would have destroyed you.
any topic. You could give him a topic.
Whatever topic you guys
Tell
want to
him-
debate on.
Tell him you have
especially-
30 minutes to research.
Dude, I hope that you guys were gonna debate on religion. He would have schooled you on religion. If you guys were gonna debate literally basically almost any topic ever that you
Any,
pick, like,
especially mainstream topic.
take your pick, he's gonna crap all over you.
Find an
Abortion, he would
obscure
destroy
topic.
You.
Find an obscure topic, give him 30 minutes to research, and then maybe you could have a chance. But I doubt it with your performance.
No, you would have lost. You were gonna have a debate with Charlie Kirk. He would have destroyed you. Oh,
Give him a cool topic.
all right, guys. With all that being said, I hope that didn't rot your brain too much.
I
Oh.
still am in pain.
I just couldn't at some parts. Okay, I was having a breakdown. You guys saw that, okay?
His aneurysm. I'm surprised we didn't have to call the ambulance.
Oh. Oh, this is bad. But if you guys want to see more debate reviews in the future, let us know. These are fun.
when
Uh.
after 30 minutes of open dialogue, when we have to listen to all that over and over, then it's less so. But it's fun in a general
It's fun
sense, I guess.
nonetheless. Yeah, it's fun in the general sense.
Hold on, what about Nick Fuentes though? Should we do Nick Fuentes?
Dude, we
debate?
need to watch him. We can get away with it too because people are getting away with putting him on the podcast and on clips and stuff now. So.
Yeah.
So we could watch him. You guys can see a master debater at work.
Oh, please die
Master
with that.
debater. Oh man.
Oh, die with your degenerate nonsense.
All right. With that said, everybody, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope
We
it was
enjoyed
instructive in
making
how
it.
not to debate.
We
Um,
enjoyed making it.
We
Every element of it.
we enjoyed making the video, guys. I was thrilled. I loved making this.
Especially
Especially at
me with
the
my
end.
tea. Especially me and my tea. And then it ran out before
Oh,
I
I'm glad
could.
it ran out.
Oh,
Oh, man. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.